1, 2, 3. Give me a 1 in the chat if I'm coming through. One, two, three. Y'all can hear me. All right. Everybody said they can hear me. I need somebody to jump on real quick. I want to make sure I can hear y'all. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Y'all, it's technology. It happens all the time. All right. Hold on. Because I want to make sure I can hear y'all. So I just dropped the link in the chat. I need somebody to come up, one of my moderators. You don't have to come on camera. I just need to make sure that I can hear my mods, that I can hear everybody. And then we'll get this party started. If one of my moderators can just click the link. Okay, B Taylor's up. B Taylor, I'm going to add you to the stream. I just want to make sure I can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mic check 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, so I'm doing something wrong on my end. Give me 1 second, B Taylor.
Okay.
B Taylor, mic check 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, B Taylor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, we good, y'all.
Okay,
Look at God.
Yes. You know I got you, sis.
Yes, the devil is a liar. Didn't he try it, y'all?
Right, he tried it. It's gonna be a great discussion. I'm gonna hop back in the chat and let your let the people talk. I'm excited to hear this.
Well, thank you for jumping up, B Taylor, as a moderator. I really appreciate all of you. B Taylor, I'm going to hold you here. Okay. Glory to God. Pasino Rue says, glory. I know that's right. I'm going to hold you here, B Taylor. You can go on mute, but I just need you to hold it down in the background.
Okay.
Just in case I need, some assistance.
Okay.
Empress Carter says, I am so ready for the discussion. Before we get everything started, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Housekeeping items. If you would like to come up, you're more than welcome to come up. This is your night as viewers. Auntie Ann said, I'm loud. Hold on. Let's turn it down. What about now? All right. So I dropped the link in the chat. This is a viewer takeover. Okay. This is your moment to talk about how you feel, what's important to you as it relates to colorism, and the things that Black women are up against based on the tone of their skin, be it corporate America, be it reality television. This conversation stemmed as a result of the Real Housewives of Potomac, which I feel like all of those women are privileged in more ways than one. When I thought about the show, I said, how do I want to open up the show? And the first thing that occurred to me was, you know what? Let's talk about what is colorism. And I thought, okay. And at the last minute, I said, you know what? I don't want to talk about what colorism is because I think we can all agree on that. I want to talk about what colorism is not. Colorism is not exhibiting bad behavior and then yelling colorism because you feel like people are holding you accountable for your behavior. I'm posting a link in the chat. I see. Here we go. I feel like colorism is a real issue that we should talk about. We need to talk about. And I feel like we've danced around it for quite some time. I feel like it started by way of slavery. And when we think about historical context, but I think Black people have managed to take the ball and run with it. And now we implement colorism and that type of bias on our own people, right? The people that started it basically have kind of backed away from it, and we're implementing it against our own people. Now, when it comes to the Real Housewives of Potomac, here's my stance. There are no victims. All of those women have gotten down and dirty with each other by way of insult, by way of privilege, by way of attacks, verbal assassination. One person that I can identify that have been a victim of colorism is OG from Basketball Wives. I can honestly say that. OG never had to say colorism. I could see that coming from the screen. I could see that by the way Shawnee O'Neal treated her. I could see that by way of Evelyn Lozada, how she treated her, to the point that she actually called her ugly. You see what I'm saying? So when we think about colorism, there's major impacts to colorism. Your pay is affected. The way you are edited is impacted. The positions, the mental anguish that you're up against. Empress Carter says, I stood with OG, and I do too. That's a real victim of colorism. Wendy and Candace are not, to me, victims of colorism because that's called for me mutual combat, right? When I'm watching this, mutual combat. No, y'all are engaging just as much as the light-skinned women. Y'all are going toe to toe. Think about a full-on fist fight. It's just a verbal fist fight, okay? That's why I say there are no victims in this. Because if Candace and Wendy had not dealt verbal insults, then we could say, you know what, there's a little bit of colorism going on. This is just based on my perspective, y'all. You don't have to agree with this. And that's why I love the palace, because I want you all to come up and express your viewpoints. And it may get a little heated, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Here's what I'm not okay with. If you come up and somebody disagrees with you, don't label them a colorist. Don't label them anything outside of just disagreeing with you. Some of you have acted up in my chats because I took a stance to say, there are no victims here. They're all willing participants. What I feel like we're seeing being played out on the Real Housewives of Potomac is just mean girl shit. That's what mean girls do. I am going to pull back. I am going to open up the phone lines. I see we got a couple of people in the chat waiting backstage. Lady D Keys, I'm bringing you up. I see you, Queen. You showed your face on camera. I am going to pause.
I want to stay up too.
Tonight?
I want to stay up too.
Oh, okay. Stay up, B Taylor. B Taylor, do you want to talk about colorism?
Yes,
you want to open up
I
the
do.
floor?
I'm so passionate about this, especially when you mention OG, because Shawnee O'Neal blocked me on Instagram because I confronted her about the OG situation. And she was kind of like taunting, like, oh, we're going to get renewed for another season. And I forgot what I said, but I don't feel like what I said resulted into being blocked so quickly. But I made a video about it a long time ago and it blew up. So this was like trigger for me because it was not only colorism, it was featurism with OG because she has strong African features. And what's her name? The one that she oh my god, what's her name? They got into it. They was dating. She was dating. She was like, what's his name?
Kristen, Malaysia.
No, the Hispanic one. The
Evelyn.
Yes. Evelyn was so shocked that her ex wanted OG because she felt like she wasn't his preference. She wasn't good enough. And she was like, there's no way. She was so bothered that a woman like OG her ex took an interest in her. And they were so bothered, like, oh, she's so aggressive. But Evelyn's been aggressive. Evelyn throw glass, she fights and everything. So there was a lot of colorism there.
Across tables.
Yeah. And I don't know about like Real Housewives. I know like, you know, I kind of agree to a certain extent. Like they just all shady, but it just seems like when one of the darker complected women act up, it's like, oh my God, I'm scared for my life. When everyone else is not scared for their life with the other women. But if we want to talk about personal experiences with colorism, it's weird because I guess I'm brown skin or so. I've never really experienced colorism, but when I did experience it, it was not from white people. It was not from other people from different races. The first time I ever questioned my skin color was from black people, specifically black men. I never forget the conversation that made me feel insecure about my color for the first time. I was talking to a black guy, and he told me, I can't wait to have some mixed babies. And I was like, well, then why did you ask for my number? He goes, I don't know, but I know I'm going to marry a Hispanic girl because I want some light skinned babies. I'm going to get me a light skinned girl. And I was like, so why are you talking to me though? Like, I don't understand. And in that moment, I just all of a sudden started developing insecurities that I was not good enough to have kids with or build a future with because of my skin color. But I grew up around white people and black people, and the most times that my color was brought up was from other black people. White people don't have these discussions. When they see us, they just see black. It don't matter about like your shade. They just see black. So that's been my experience. I never been discriminated. Sorry, y'all, my baby in the background. But I'm gonna let y'all talk.
No, I think so. First of all, thank you for sharing. I think you bring up some very important points outside of just the narrated conversation that we're having today. And as you were talking about your corporate experience, your dating experience, and also your first encounter, right? Be like, whoa, were you even questioned your skin tone? I have to agree with you. I don't feel like that I've experienced colorism in corporate America in a segment from Caucasians to me. If there is, I wasn't able to decipher it and pick up on it. I know it exists amongst us. I experienced it earlier on as a kid, but I'm a feisty Scorpio, and maybe I've been able to block it out or not been as savvy to pick up on it. But I have to agree with you, B. Taylor. You made some phenomenal points. Welcome to the stage,
Thank
Lady
you.
D, and welcome to the
Thank
stage.
you.
Yeah. Who else we got? Hold on, y'all. Let me tell you about Journey to Jasmine. Let me give you a little bit of background. So, Jasmine, do you mind if I share? Mic check 1, 2, 3.
No, go right ahead. Can you hear me?
Okay, listen. Me and Jasmine went toe to toe, y'all, in the comments, and regarding her ideology on colorism and how important it was to her, and how she was triggered by some of the viewpoints that I shared. And here's the important part of being a content creator. Why I don't mind being challenged by my viewers, because I really feel like it opens up the door to a deeper conversation. I don't want people on my page that just agrees with me. Jasmine was respectful, but she held her point and she did not back down, and neither did I. So what I told Jasmine, I said, I tell you what, I'm going to host this conversation. I need you to pull up. And she was like, bet. And here she is today. So, Jasmine, I really appreciate you showing up, Queen. I'm going to open up the floor for you, but we're going to let Lady D Keys come in. But, Jasmine, anything you want to say before I pass the mic to Lady D?
Well, thank you for inviting me. Want me to hop on or lady?
Just no, I'll let Lady D
Hello.
go, and then we'll swing it back to you. Lady D, welcome.
Hi, Queen Shiba. Hi, panel. Um, Colorism. Oh my Jesus. I know I experienced it like from a male, and he was not of African American descent. And it was when I was young. I was walking to the store for my mom and myself, and he called my name, and I looked, and then I turned around because I know me and him didn't get along like that. So this boy, he spit up. I had to go home and tell my mom because it was so like it was all in my hair, and I had a curl back then, so it was all in my hair. And I told my mom, and my mom this is the first time I ever seen her defend me like that. She jumped in her car and went down to the man's house because I saw where they turned in at. And she said, "Your son spit on my daughter." And he said, "Get off my porch, you monkey." And I was like, "Really? You're racist?" And it was the first time I ever experienced racism in my life because where we're from Louisiana, so I was more sheltered back then than up here in Seattle, Washington. So it was like, really? Why why would you spit on me? And I'm just walking down the street minding my business, doing absolutely nothing to you. And it was just like, what? Why? And so my mom, she said, it's okay. She took me home and she washed my hair. But that was the first time I ever experienced racism, really, because
Racism or
it was
colorism?
racism.
Okay. What are your thoughts on colorism?
Colorism
When
and
mhm.
uh, on the show of Housewives of Potomac, I could tell a little bit that Giselle was uncomfortable with with the conversation because I feel like she does have a little bit of colorism in her, even though because she does and says some shady stuff. Even though some of her stuff is, she tells her truth and she speaks her truth, and she just if she don't like somebody because she don't like Wendy. I personally don't like Wendy either. I think Wendy is one of the people where, like you were saying, she's one of those people that thought she was the it girl and thought she was the head leader, but she's not the head leader on the show.
I agree.
And her and Candace needs to figure out what their issue is and stop being so. Because Candace has a smart mouth, and that gets her in trouble. That gets her in trouble all the time because she's slick mouthed with it.
Yeah,
And when she was fighting with Monique, it was like, girl, how you gonna ask somebody what you gonna do, drag me, and then she drags you, and then you have a problem with it. Oh, you got what you asked for. At the end of the day, you can't be in somebody's face and ask them what you gonna do, drag me. And
I
then,
agree.
because Monique is from Detroit, right,
Yeah.
or somewhere.
Balti yeah, yeah.
So it's like she about that life. And I really wasn't a fan of Monique's either because when she came on the show, she was kind of bragging about what she has because of her husband. You have 4 houses because of your husband. You didn't work hard and bust your butt and get those 4 houses. Your husband busted his butt and got those 4 houses. So if it weren't for your husband, you wouldn't have those 4 houses. So be grateful for that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. You, I feel like there was some people in the comments that could relate to you sharing your story. And people have expressed their empathy and said, they're really sorry that you had to deal with that. So thank you so much, Lady D.
Mhm.
Jasmine, you're up next. Lady D, I'm gonna drop you down and I'm going. Empress Carter, I see you in the background. For some reason, you come in, Empress, and then it says your device is not connected. Log in, come back, and I'm gonna bring you up. If not, Ebony, I see you. You're up next. Cinnamon Swirl, I just need to see you're a real person. Flash your camera on, turn it off. You're good to go. Cinnamon. All right, Lady D, I'm gonna drop you down. Jasmine, welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess I'll start by saying, and I really, from our conversation, well, really honestly, since Sunday, and kind of being re-triggered by that display on Sunday, because truly the girls have been saying, and when I say the girls, I mean like the audience, and um, I haven't really seen the castmates express it as much as I've seen the audience. And I'll just say I'm a millennial. A lot of women that I watch on these YouTube streets, I would say are like the generation right before mine. So what's that? Gen X. So in that I feel like we may have different viewpoints in that, because I mean I differ from my own parents in some things. But anyway, um from Sunday to today, I've really been sitting back thinking, like, have I ever personally experienced colorism? And I just cannot think of a single time where I've been on the bad receiving end of it. Now, have has a darker friend of mine expressed to me that I'm light skinned. I'm like, light skin, weird girl. I'm really brown skin, and in things like that, I see how ingrained it is in our everyday just thought process, where the hue of our skin is so important that it really just has much more of a socioeconomic what's the word I'm looking for, impact than we really realize, to be honest. Many people may not have experienced in the corporate world, things like and I put racism on that because I could tell you a story just from today with my supervisor. But anyway, and him not even knowing, like, he's cool people, he just didn't know. But when it comes to colorism, in particular Real Housewives of Potomac, I genuinely feel, just based off my studies and based off of how those women interact with one subset versus the other subset, it truly is institutionalized, ingrained colorism and featurism, especially when it comes to Wendy. Because I personally feel that they treat Wendy worse than they treat Candace. And that is, I don't want to say it's because she has more African aligned features and Candace has more westernized features, but it is just true. If you can see it in OG and Kristen, like, think about it. OG has more African aligned features, and they treated OG worse than they treated Kristen. But both OG and Kristen were both dark skinned, but Kristen's features were way more westernized. And I mean, to harken it right back to Potomac, the same with Wendy and Candace. I feel like Candace, I want to say she's slightly reaching with the colorism thing. She's right, but I don't think that it's directed towards her as bad as she's trying to make it seem. I personally do feel like the colorism and featureism is directed towards Wendy. From Karen saying that Wendy does not fit the aesthetic of the show. What is the aesthetic of the show? Tacky is all get out, because Giselle's tacky. So was Karen. She went and got, the whole makeover. They all look like crap their first season. And then they go get the stylist, the makeover, and all that after second season, which is exactly what Wendy did. And my thing is, out of all of them, she is the most accomplished woman of all the women on that show. And it just seems like that they can't even fathom a woman that looks like her having all that she has, and they don't have a quarter of what she has.
Now,
I mean,
here's where I want to
go
play
ahead.
devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
When you think about Wendy's accomplishments and you think about Wendy's introduction and how she came in, would it be fair to say that Wendy came in cocked and loaded her first season on the show?
In regards to her speaking on her accomplishments.
Just her, this is just me. This is a little bit of bias, right? How I receive Wendy from a viewer perspective. And I was not a blogger at this time. And I have education, but I would never walk into a room the way Wendy walked into a room, dangling my degrees in front of everybody, right? If they find out, they find out. Hopefully my aura and the energy that I give out. I feel like Wendy unleashed her educational components over and over again. I think Wendy started this. Like, y'all are the pretty light girls, and most pretty women, when we think about biases, are perceived to be just pretty, but pretty dumb. And I think Wendy found an angle and she took it. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like she came in a little bit self-absorbed?
Who,
Jasmine?
Dr. Wendy to you, sweetie?
Yes,
That's
like come
Dr.
on,
Wendy to you,
Jasmine. Do you
sweetie.
feel like that or no?
I definitely do feel like that,
Okay.
and Wendy was off putting to me at first because I didn't like that she chose sides in the whole Monique when she was brand new and really didn't have anyone to choose. That's one, and I feel like she aligned more with the Gibbs. I don't know if it's more that whole AKA thing or whatever, but
Hmm.
she didn't have a dog in anyone's fight because she was brand new. That's her first season. Um, and the whole point of the fight stemmed from the whole thing with them making up that she was sleeping, that Monique was sleeping with her trainer. That was way before Wendy came. But anyway, I do agree with you, and as an educated woman, I do know that if you don't be too haughty, don't be too proud of yourself because people don't like that. So uh, it's a double-edged sword for me because I'm like, black girl screaming from the mountaintop that you all that in the bag of chips. I got 4 degrees. I got this and the third, and what? I'm inspire somebody who wants to get it too, or let you know, yeah, yeah, black women, we out here doing it.
Yeah,
So I get it from that. I get it from the standpoint of, man, that's kind of braggadocious, but I also get it from the standpoint of, and
I get you,
so
but I feel like it was a bit
you know,
overly saturated, over promotion, right, or
I
overproduction
do,
by way of appearance. Let me go get cosmetic surgery over, and I think there should be a cool balance. And Alf MC says Wendy weaponized her education when she started on Real Housewife of Potomac. I feel the same way. Now, I feel like she's done a great job of course correcting and really measuring out how she deals out insults and how she promotes herself. But sometimes as viewers, we are unforgiving.
so Queen, let me challenge you on this one then.
Okay. And then I'm going to you. Get ready, Empress, because I'm coming to you next. Go ahead, Jasmine.
um with Okay, dang, I lost my whole train. Oh
You
yes,
said
yes,
you
yes.
finna challenge me because I said
um
Wendy over promotes.
she does. Oh, she did. Let me say that, but she did. Even though she did that, and even the comment about her weaponizing her education, did she ever do it maliciously?
Yes, I think she did.
Like to
And
the
I think
point
she did it
of
to an
tearing
art.
people
And I think she
down?
did it to Eddie's parents and
Okay.
Eddie's mother by way of the mother wanting to push back. You know, as black women,
Them
we know
people
what
ain't
we
on the show.
doing. We know what we doing when we
Them people
walk in
ain't on the show though.
rooms. Go ahead.
Them people ain't on the show, so I can't even speak for them. I mean, we saw it, but just looking at, what has it been, 4 seasons for Wendy now?
Hmm.
Um, just looking at how she has been treated and maligned for education and being a person who can articulate herself. And truthfully, I feel like they hate that Candace and Wendy outwit them. They cannot stand toe to toe with them. The Gabs don't have good income. Mia, Ashley, people like, they don't have good comebacks when it comes to wittiness. They don't just
Ashley
use their
did
words the
though.
way
If you
Candace
think
and
about Ashley's earlier seasons, Ashley is
she
very
used to.
intellectual and is very witty. Somewhere along the way,
I'll give you that.
she
I
kind of I don't know. I don't know if
She
it's
got
if
lazy.
it's because she became a mother and she's like, you know what, let me play it safe and be a little bit more sophisticated and conservative. But I
I
think
wouldn't
Ashley
say
was
all that.
a loaded weapon initially.
Okay. So the how I see it is the other, they cannot go toe to toe when it comes to reading. And Ashley may have before, but she hasn't for quite some time. And not only that, it just seems like the other girls, because they cannot spar with them verbally, they then go to the most nasty, malicious things, making up stuff on people's husbands. I don't care how many times Wendy said Dr. Wendy to you, sweetie. She never made up anything about anyone's husband. I mean, Gab would have to have one. I mean, Gab and her husband Rob. I mean, they don't have, I mean, Rob has one now, but he be in these
Hmm.
streets. So
I
it's just
agree.
like,
Family's off limits. I agree.
family is off limits on, it seems to be one sided.
Well, Candace, hold on now. Candace be talking about that's what I'm saying. Like there are no victims here. They all go there with each
But
other.
Mike, you were gonna say Candace be talking about Michael.
Yeah, like I have a whole listen, when I
I,
do my
I
commentary, I have bulk commentary. I have stuff sitting waiting to be uploaded about Candace and Michael dynamic, right? But I just couldn't get to it. But hold
and
on,
that
let me
also
pause. Let me bring Empress in because I see you, Empress. Empress is ready. Empress, hold on, Jasmine. Let me bring her in. Empress, welcome to the show. And then we got hold on. We got
Hi, Queen.
hey, we got Ebony too. Ebony, I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna find a way to loop you in.
Okay, you ready for me?
Let me bring her in. Empress, welcome to the show. And then we got hold on. We got hey, we got Ebony too. Ebony, I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna find a way. We're ready whenever you are.
Okay, I'm sitting here
Hmm.
looking at the TV at the same time. But what I was saying was, I'm going to agree with you with the weaponization. The real issue here is weaponization, is the women going after each other and they use whatever they can, whether it's families, whether it's colorism, whether it's low blows. That's the real issue. The real issue is just this mean girl going after each other tactic. And I don't believe that colorism is an issue of this show. I do believe that all of the women are privileged. So that's the irony of this all. Like everyone's getting caught in the weeds and they're just focusing on colorism as if that's the only topic to talk about, but they're not addressing the fact that these women are vicious towards each other. They go after each
Hmm.
other's looks, they go after each other's families, they go after every single thing that they can weaponize. And Wendy, when she did come on the show, she did come cocked and loaded, and she was the one that actually introduced the topic of colorism to the show. Candace only picked it up the next season to discuss it, to defend herself, because everybody was going at Candace for her low blow comments. So I think that what colorism is just a weaponized diversion, right? But the real issue is, why are they so nasty to each other? Why are they so mean to one another? Why do they tear each other down? Why do they go after one another's families? That's the real issue for me.
That man, you're spot on, Empress. Do you feel like? Let me ask you this. Sometimes there's an echo, and it could be mine. Hold on, let me turn. I think it's my mic, y'all. Is the
Let,
echo still there?
let
Yeah, it's
me
coming from your
let
mic.
me let me make sure that this
If you
television
have
is
any
off.
background
I'll take
audio
it off.
playing, go ahead and
I'll turn it off completely.
yeah, you want to mute
So that's
any
off.
television. What about now, y'all? I can
yeah
hear it.
You still hear the echo?
It's still an echo.
Mic check.
It's still an
yeah Queen
echo.
Everybody mute up real quick.
I'm
Everybody mute
completely.
up if you're not talking. What about now?
Do you hear
yeah
Mic
me?
check.
still here.
Everybody mute up. Empress, mute up for me real quick.
Okay.
Hit mute. Mic check. One, two, three. All right. So we're good. So what we're gonna do is if we're not talking, we're gonna mute up. Empress, I think you make a good point about the women hurling insults. So when we think about black excellence, sisterhood, village, is the problem colorism or is the problem disrespect? Empress, go ahead.
I think the problem is disrespect. I think that none of these women have a mutual respect for one another. And I feel like almost like the voice in the wilderness in most of these YouTube channels, because I'm always shouting, like, but the real issue is that everyone's being mean to one another. They're tearing each other down. Excuse me, my accent's coming out because this has me fired up. They're tearing each other down. They're going against each other. They're making alliances with each other, not because they like each other, but simply because they want to team up and tear another one down. Then once they get their targets out, I in this case was Monique. Once they get all their targets out, they go against the next available. And in this case, it's Candace. But she's not a victim in this either, because she's been guilty of doing all of the same things. I have a major issue with the low blow comments, the body shaming, because when I listen to the YouTube channels, all I hear is people talking about body features, like with Giselle, they're talking about her neck, her ankles, and Ashley, her forehead, because that's what's being pushed. And I'm like, when are people going to realize that you are just as guilty as of the hatred that you're trying to defend in colorism. Because why is colorism different, a different form of hate? Whether you're tearing each other down or not, it's still hatred. So definitely I say that colorism is being weaponized right now, and right now it's being spread from reality show to reality show. And the ironic thing is, where it originated, which was Basketball Wives, it actually was a real thing. Because I remember defending OG. I remember standing with OG because it was blatant colorism. Because it was they were blatantly disregarding this woman and treating her as if she didn't matter, and her, like, she didn't even have a voice and she wasn't even human. So that's colorism, the way they treated her.
And the producers,
yes,
when we found out, y'all, that's true. Like, there are no victims here on the Real Housewives of Potomac. If your pay is not mute up, if your pay is not impacted, if you're the way they're showing you, they purposely place OG in hostile environments. They purposely disregarded her complaints. They said producers were calling her ugly behind the scenes. That's colorism. Painting her as an aggressive, darker skinned woman, hitting unfavorable camera angles so that she appeared to be not as feminine as the other women. And do you remember the hate that came from Evelyn when she patted her vagina? And do y'all remember that scene?
Evelyn is a disgusting human being.
Come on now. Can we talk about it?
And you want to talk about colorism? Now that's I don't know how you feel about mentioning other YouTube.
Melvin Elephant says that you're making very good points, Empress Carter. Let me pause for a second. B. Taylor, anything you would like to add before I go on to hold on, Ebony. Before I go on to Ebony. Ebony's been waiting very patiently. B. Taylor, anything you want to add?
No, I'm good. And if you need to drop me down, just let me know.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead, Ebony.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to talk about colorism. I do feel like it's a very important topic. And I think that our community, we do not talk about it as often and as in depth as we should. But definitely colorism is like an intercommunal thing, like within a race or within a community. And I feel like it's like a branch off of the tree of self-hate. I do think that it is like a result or a manifestation of some self-hate. And I think that colorism takes several different forms. I know for me, being a female, even having like a crush on a boy, talking to a boy on the phone in middle school or high school, they would all say the exact same thing, that they wanted a girl who was light skinned with long hair. So when I joined your live and I heard B. Taylor talking, I could relate to that experience and wondering, well, like, why is like he talking to me if I don't fit that mold that he is looking for, with like the long hair cascading down my back? I've always had thick nappy hair, but like the long length and being of a certain shade, I felt like I did not fit in. And I felt like, that was the beginning of trying to acquire hairstyles to kind of fit a mold that really was not for me. And I feel like also on the flip side, just recently, I was actually in a chat and we were talking about Jonathan Majors because he's in Creed that comes out tomorrow. And he's also in a Marvel movie that's at the movie theater, Ant-Man. And so many Black women, this is on the flip side, they were saying, oh, that face is ugly, but his body is banging, and Jonathan Majors has like a broad nose. So that's more like Futurism, but I feel like Futurism, colorism, those are branches off the tree of self-hate, in my opinion. And that was, after a while, it was several Black women calling him ugly. And then I just typed in the chat, yeah, I guess some people don't like broader noses, but he's not ugly to me. And then it was like another Black woman, she just typed in self-hate. And then another Black woman said, it's sad the way Black people hate themselves. And then that's when the women in the chat kind of just changed the subject. But I think sometimes like those little isms of self-hate, they pop up and we may be unaware that it's like there, it is like, innate, it's like within us. but I feel like it's something that we should definitely talk about more so that we can kind of start that journey to self-love, and then we can treat each other a little bit more warmly. Because I think like the Black men who say, oh, I want someone who's light skinned with long hair, if they're talking to you and you don't fit that mold, I think they find you attractive too, but there's something within them where they don't love themselves totally, where they're trying to project that low self-esteem onto you and make you feel away. Now, when it comes to the Real Housewives of Potomac, one thing that always bugs me with Wendy and Candace is that I feel like they have to feel validated via a friendship with Giselle and Robin and Ashley, because they are the more lighter complected women. In my opinion, that's what I think is like at the root of it. But I just hate that they feel like they have to be in good with them. And it just gives, school days and Giselle, big sister, all my tea. That's just like what it gives and what it speaks to me. But those were my thoughts on colorism. I feel like it's so important for us to talk about it more and more. I know it's kind of sad and kind of hard to admit when there's like some self-hatred within, but I think if you talk about it and let it bubble up to the surface, then maybe we can move on from it. Those are my thoughts.
Listen, those were beautiful and lovely thoughts. I think Jasmine wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying. Jasmine, what are your thoughts?
So, I'll just say this. I think that a lot of times we start at the middle instead of the beginning. Hate stems from eugenics. This whole thing is eugenics, and colorism and futurism, even racism, are the children of the eugenics movement, i.e., creating a master race, and the master race being white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And any nose, i.e., a quote unquote Jew nose, of course, our nose, lips, this, and that, third, does not fit into that equation. That's where you get the futurism. Of course, our skin color does not fit into that equation either. Colorism. So I think that a lot of times we conflate those issues into like this whole self-hate. And yes, it is once we internalize it and the Willie Lynch chip, if you will, is activated in us, it then is passed down. It becomes epigenetic at that point, because you pass down these traits and these feelings of self-hate and of like, oh, white is right, things like that, onto your children epigenetically. You don't have to say a word, but it's in your essence, so it's passed down to them. Um, so now that in saying that, that's what I'm saying. People don't even realize how ingrained it is. So when some of us are saying that it is on the show, I think other people cannot see it, because it's almost like standing too close to the elephant. It's so ingrained you can't even see how fine and minute it is. I mean, prime example, what reason really does Giselle have not to like Wendy? There is no real reason. And to get on Giselle, her color is passed. And since I'm talking on epigenetics, her father, who was a leader in the civil rights of movement, which is what she stood on first season. That was her 4 degrees that she stood on first season, was her father's accomplishments. And the fact that her ex-husband was a cheater, pumpkin eater. But anyway,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a coworker you're not feeling them?
Yeah, plenty. But okay.
Hold on. Can we give that? Can we give that grace
Yeah.
to Giselle? Like sometimes she just don't like folks. Does that make sense?
Grace.
It makes sense.
I can give her that grace. I'm with that. I can give her that grace if it just did not come with so much vitriol behind it. There's plenty of people I don't like. I just pay them dust. I don't have to create things. I don't have to say anything about them. I don't have to acknowledge them. And granted, I do realize they're on a show, but you don't have to be nasty because you don't like someone. That's ridiculous. But to me, but back to Giselle's lineage, when her father was running for Texas state representative, he was running against Barbara Jordan. He, in a newspaper, called Barbara Jordan, he was like basically like I don't want that Aunt Jemima in office. Like these views are they are systemic. A lot of people try like really romanticize history and look at it very linearly when it's actually cyclical. The colorist views that we see today are the same colorist views that we saw yesteryear. The same minstrel show that we saw back then, we're seeing it right now. And if you do not see the history for what it is, you're going to repeat it. Hence, we are in this realm right now. We are repeating history because people do not see it, and if you
I
don't see it,
agree.
change it.
And even Don says it's important to acknowledge the insecurities and the projection from the audience of their issues onto the cast. I
Yes,
think that was you,
absolutely.
Jasmine. Didn't you open up when you said it's more so from the viewers that I'm starting to notice the colorism,
Yeah.
the negative connotation, and I think Don, I have to agree with you. I cannot deny that. B. Taylor, I think you were wanting to piggyback, and I think Empress was also wanting to piggyback. What do you have based on what the ladies are sharing?
Oh, peace,
Okay,
y'all. I'm
so
about to dip out.
You're
with
fine. You're fine, Jasmine. Hold tight. Unless
with
you
the
need to drop. Unless
Jonathan,
you need to drop.
what's his name? Jonathan Mayers, the one from Ant-Man and Creed. It made me think back on something, how when I said earlier, I feel like black men push colorism, but when you really think about it, I think about like even my own grandparents and how they are about colorism and how they kind of taught this self-hate as well, where they tell us, oh, you getting too black. Oh, get your black, ass inside. And they put an emphasis on being black is bad. Like, why do you have to bring up our color when we're in trouble? Especially black men. Like, I saw that growing up, where it was like a lot of black boys, when they got in trouble, their mom was like yelling, like, get your black in the house. And I feel like that kind of play a part into the self hate. I also see it in my family where I have to correct a lot of family members because I have a son who is very light skinned, curly, mixed hair. Everybody thinks his dad is white. And my nephew, he is fully black, and they both have their natural hair. And I'll never forget, my grandmother told my sister, like, oh, when are you going to cut your son's hair? And she said, you never say that to, you know, my son. And she's like, well, he can do that, and that right there is like instilling self-hate into the children, where they grow up and say, you know what, my hair wasn't good enough, so I'm gonna go get somebody with the hair that my mom or grandmother said that was pretty. And then that's how we start, kind of pushing that narrative. Then we also got to talk about how light skinned girls victimize themselves with dark skinned girls. Do they have experiences with dark skinned girls who may be hating on them? Yes, but there are definitely a lot of light skinned women who have an illusion, that a delusional thinking that every dark skinned girl is hating on her. And I've seen it. I've seen it in college, where I had light skinned friends and they'd be like, "Oh, she's hating on me." My mama always told me they was gonna hate on me, and it's like, mothers, you're telling your light skinned daughters that these girls hating on you because she's light skinned and pretty. It's going to instill in her that when she gets older and a black woman and her not getting along, like I said, Giselle and the other lady, they was getting into it, and you were bringing up Shiba, saying that maybe she just don't like her, but everybody else is looking at it like, nah, she don't like her because she's hating on me, or people are internalizing it from their viewpoint and their own traumatic experiences. So when you see a light skinned girl and a dark skinned girl get into it, you're automatically going to think, oh, the dark skinned girl is hating on the light skinned girl, or the light skinned girl don't like her because she's dark skinned, because we're pushing that narrative, because that's instilled inside of us. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Thank you for sharing. Empress Carter, you are up next. What are your thoughts?
I just want to say I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I just want to thank my parents for instilling me knowledge of myself and to love myself. So that's why the last thing for me to do is to actually look at another woman and tear her down. My first instinct is to see another woman and want to pull her up, right? So that's the situation with me. So when I hear the colorism theme and the colorism narrative on this show, I don't understand why people don't see the weaponization of the actual term colorism by these women. And that's what's really happening. And regarding Giselle not liking Wendy, she didn't start off not liking her. She actually didn't like Wendy because Wendy annihilated her last season and embarrassed her, completely embarrassed her. Because what Giselle tried to do was her usual tactic, which is to come after the families with the rumors. And what Wendy did in her response was she annihilated Robin and Giselle, and that totally embarrassed them. So after they got embarrassed, that's when they didn't like Wendy. It's not because of her complexion, it's because she embarrassed them. And now they don't like her. So that is a normal mean girl response. Rather than sitting down and resolving your differences, because that's not the narrative of the show. The whole purpose of this show is everyone to shade one another, to tear one another down, to dishonor one another, to that's we need to focus on what's the real issue with the show. The show is they go after your family, they go after your features, they go after your looks, they go after anything. And every single one of these women have done this. So I don't see that as a colorism issue, right? I see that as a hateful, mean girl reality, toxic narrative that's across all of these reality shows. It even exists on the Beverly Hills show, but nobody is calling colorism because they're mostly white, right? And when you introduce a black person, they say is now racism. But the truth of the matter is, what is the real issue? Is it colorism? Is it racism? Or is it just women tearing other women down?
Or is it placism?
It might be placism as well.
And for those of you that are not familiar with the terminology of placism, I had a friend that broke it down to me many, many years ago. He said a lot of people, and in my commentary, I can't even tell you what video I broke it down. He said sometimes you feel like you're being discriminated against because of the color of your skin when you're actually being discriminated against because of your place in society. Because if you were the same color and a higher status, people would not have a problem with you. And that's placism. But because you don't dwell in their zip code, their educational level, their political vote, the restaurants that they frequent, you're out of place. That's placism. He said, and it feels very, very similar to racism, but it's not. Because you see them frolicking with people that look like you and talk like you, and you're like, well, what is it about me? It has to be racism. He goes, no, it's placism. And he works for a multi-million-dollar corporation. He says, I see it every day. People walk in every day with claims of racism when they're just being shunned upon because of their economical status and not because of their race. I want to pass the mic. Oh, Cinnamon, you dropped. Cinnamon dropped. Come back up, Cinnamon. We're going to give you first priority. But let's pass the mic again to Ebony. Cinnamon just dropped. Ebony.
I wanted to say, with the show specifically, I definitely see the perspective that it may not be wholeheartedly colorism. They're just being mean girls for sure, because it's a reality TV show and they definitely want to keep filming their show. So they'll do whatever they think it takes to keep the show on. However, when Wendy speaks about the colorism, when she experiences those women, it seems extremely sincere and authentic and from her heart. So I definitely believe that she is experiencing colorism. And I don't feel like I feel like, who am I to try and invalidate what she says or invalidate her feelings or her experiences? But I know for me, when I think of colorism, I think much bigger than the show. Like, I just wish our community, I always want us to be like more unified, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like it takes many, many different forms. And I think a lot of times within our race, we don't even really know. Sometimes it's very unaware what we're doing. But I think discussions like this live on Queen Shiba's channel, I think that it can help kind of make a light bulb go off. Like, yeah, I guess, sometimes I have been guilty of saying that, or me too. I have experienced that. That was kind of toxic. That did kind of suck. That kind of hurt my feelings, and then maybe we can kind of, move on past it. Because bottom line, like some people, they will say that they're into like light skin, long hair. Like even when I started my lock journey, I'm just under a year and a half locked. I literally had the thoughts and told myself, like, I know I'm not going to appeal now to as many Black men as possible. And that's okay, like, because I'm doing something for me. I was tired of all of the different things that I was taking my hair through. So, but I did have that kind of like inner conversation with myself. Like, everybody is not going to be feeling it because it's not going to be like some long hair cascading down my back. And that was something that I was okay. But, I had to get to that place. And I think that with the colorism and the Futurism, we kind of take each other through some things that we really don't even have to.
Let me ask all of you ladies a question. This has been heavily centered around what women feel. Do you think we exhibit colorism? Not exhibit, but do you think the word y'all know y'all be, do y'all know when y'all listen to my commentary, I'm like, help me out in the chat. Give me the word I'm trying to say. And I'm not embarrassed because, honey, sometimes my brain goes blank. What's the word I'm trying to say? Do you think as Black women, not only are we guilty of exuding colorism to each other, that's the wrong word, exude. But do we apply that to Black men when we say, oh, I don't date dark men or I don't date light-skinned men? And we say it
Yes,
so
real bad.
casually. Okay, y'all come in.
Real
Give me your
bad.
thoughts.
I
Go
want to
ahead. Who
jump
wants to
in
go?
because
Who
I
wants
got
to go?
into it. I got into it
Go
with my
ahead.
friend about this a long time. Can y'all hear me? Y'all can hear me? Okay. I got into it in college with my friend about this because I felt like she was discriminating. I date men of all races, different colors, but I noticed that I attract more light skinned men. I don't know why. I always attract biracial men, light skinned men, white men, Hispanic, whatever, more than dark skinned men. And my friend who was like, oh, I don't like light skinned men. They're gross. I only date dark skin. And I'm like, imagine if I said the same thing about dark skinned men. They're gross. Oh, light skin is in. You see how that sound? I'm like, why are you discriminating against a man against his color? She's like, but I feel like a lot of Black women praise dark skinned Black men so much and crap on the lighter skinned men, talking about light skin not in no more, you know. So I got into it about that because she made me mad when she said that. I said, yeah, who wants to date a dark skinned guy? And she was like, what? Why would you say that? And I'm like, I sound exactly how you sound, but just the opposite, right? So why are you discriminating against lighter skinned men? Like they can't help that their color looks like that. So it's like it's the opposite. Black women praise dark skinned men and dark skinned men praise light skinned women. And it's like the dark skinned women and the light skinned women love dark skinned men. But dark skinned men, they most likely go after lighter skinned women. That's always been the experience. And I just took it as maybe it's the opposite attract, but not when it comes down to the woman's end. Because there's dark skinned women that are like very dark. And I even experienced when I was dating a darker skinned guy and he told me, "Oh, you the darkest I'll go. I couldn't go. I couldn't be with no girl darker than me, or dark like me." And I just said, "This is what I have a problem with dating some men who are darker complected because they try to project that on me and say things like that. Why would you? It don't matter if you light skinned or a dark skinned woman. Why would you want to date a man that says stuff like that? Why would you want to date a man that say, "Oh, I wouldn't want to date a woman that look like me"? Because then you're just what? What if we have kids and the kids come out looking like you? Now we got to deal with you not really thinking your kids are beautiful. So that's just been my college experience. I feel like women definitely play into the whole dark skin, light skin thing, and praising dark skinned men and crapping on the lighter skinned men. That's it.
That was good. Alf Max says, "Oh, honey, I don't even date short men." So what does that mean? No, seriously, if a man is the same height as me, I don't even see him. Probably because, yeah, I could see you looking over the mountaintop, and he's probably okay on sea level, but that's fine. Uh, Listen, would any of you ladies like to chime in
Um,
regarding Black women's bias towards
I
Black
would.
men when it comes to
I
height
would
and
too.
color?
I would.
I'll
So
take it
go ahead,
next.
Ask
Jasmine.
a comment from
Jasmine's up next, and then who's after Jasmine? Who wants to go?
I can
Jasmine,
go after Jasmine.
and then
Oh,
Empress, and
yeah.
then Ebony. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, go, Jasmine.
So I know Alf Matt was just playing, but um I'll just say short people have never been discriminated against. They've never been enslaved. Let me say that. They've never been enslaved. Their rights weren't taken away from them. They weren't economically oppressed as a people because they were short. So that's that lies in my whole issue with the whole conflation of black rights and the whole like LGBT. Because I ain't trying to step on no toes, but I don't like different arguments being conflated. For that very reason, they have two different, whole different histories. But to go back to the whole colorism, I feel that just like women can have internalized misogyny, we can have the same internalized colorism and racism just like the men do. I personally feel like with women, the whole colorism complex is in reverse from the men when it comes to the black community. Um, Black women tend to favor, just from the whole, from what I've seen from conversation, just from the conversation we've had right here, that black darker hued men are favored more than lighter hued men. There's all these jokes, oh, you light, you punk, you know, you weak, this, that, you soft, all this herb. Whereas darker skinned men tend to exude more masculinity in our minds. Whereas on the flip, when we talk about women, the darker skinned women are more masculine, lighter skinned women are more feminine. So we really have internalized a lot of these eugenic talking points and use them against each other. And in the case of men and women, we're using the same tactics against each other, just in reverse. It's all ridiculous. It is all stupid at the end of the day. I just like I forgot your name. Bad with names, but anyway, like you just talked before me. My college experience with that, I had two guy best friends. And it was very very plutonic. We were like family, this and the third. But um, the lighter skinned guy, um, we used to take trips together, all types. Like I would help him with his photography. And one trip that we took to the beach to do a photography thing, we ended up longer and all of that. And we shared a hotel. We had slept in the same bed together for years, and it was never a thing. But this time he tried me, and it wasn't a bad thing. I wasn't uncomfortable, so it wasn't that kind of situation. But nothing went anywhere. But the next morning, I wanted to talk about it because it was weird. Because that's my friend. Um, and he kind of like put the whole thing off, kind of like, well, you don't like me anyway. You only like dark skinned guys. And he was referring to our other friend who was dark skinned because he felt in his mind that I was attracted to our other friend. When I'm like, I don't like neither one of y'all like that. But it's like he is the lighter skinned friend, um, had already internalized that I would not like him because I would like our darker skinned friend more. And I'm like, we're with this. There's nothing more than we could talk about. We can't. And it just really ended in a weird way. So I do feel that we as a community really need to delve into these things and really dig up these roots of
Mhm.
internalized racism that manifests into colorism and futurism. And also one more thing, I saw someone say, you had put it on the banner or whatever. Someone said that dark skinned men are my preference. How is that any better from when we see these guys on the podcast saying that light skinned women are my preference? It's and I see all these doing like your preferences. We are doing the exact same thing. We're hypocrites. I'm just being honest. Like same with a lot of self checking needs to go on across.
Let me pose something to you.
The whole sphere.
Darker skinned men are looked at as heroes in the Black community. Darker skinned women are looked at as villains. Can we agree? How do we get there?
I wholeheartedly agree.
Because
hold on, pause on that. Just let that marinate for a second. In the chat, in the audience, can we agree? If we take the emotion out, because I want y'all to talk about it in the chat. As a matter of fact, let me drop the link, because we're not going to do that. If you're feeling good, I'm dropping a link in the chat. Can we agree that in the Black community, there's a stereotype of darker skinned men being heroic and darker skinned women being labeled as masculine and also villainized?
Yeah, because darker skin is seen as masculine. But it's not good when it's a woman. You see what I'm saying? Like a masculine on a Black man, it's good because it's like, oh, he's strong. He can be aggressive. He can be threatening, but like in a good way, as in protection. But then when you put that same skin color on a woman, it's the opposite of femininity. Right? Like, look at Pam. Look at Martin. Look at Martin is a perfect example. You had Pam and oh Lord, what's her name?
Gina
was the soft and feminine one. Pam was the aggressive one. Like when they was in there fighting the raccoon, why did Pam have to jump in and fight the raccoon? Or whatever it was, you know? Like
now that's colorism.
That's colorism too deep. That is the perfect definition of colorism.
Yes. Okay, Empress, go ahead. You want to share your thoughts, and then Ebony, you're next, and then we'll spin the block with you again, Jasmine. Lady D's, I see you in the back. I'm gonna bring you up.
I'll say this: in my younger years, I was guilty of my bias against light-skinned men. But as I got older and I started to realize how ridiculous it was, I moved away from that. So it all comes with when you like identify the issue within yourself, you identify your own bias, and then you address your own bias. And that's how we change it. We address whatever biases that we have. I never looked at dark skinned women as being anything outside of beautiful and gorgeous. I actually wanted my skin to be darker. I wanted my hair to be thicker. So I always honored dark skin. And because of colorism and what was instilled in us, which yes, did start from eugenics, I had like a bias against my own lighter skin. So when I heard someone say colorism can't be reversed, it absolutely can be reversed. Because if you have an issue with yourself, that issue with yourself is self-hatred. So whether you're light skinned and you're hating against other light skinned people, or you're dark skinned and you're hating against other dark skinned people, it's yet still self-hatred. So that's the point I wanted to hone in on.
B. Taylor, you're moderating. I'm going to step away for a quick second. B. Taylor, who's next?
Who wanted to go next after that?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yes. Back to Queen Shiba's question about do we hold like any biases towards Black men? I definitely think that we do that. You know, like I live witnessed some of the women with their Futurism towards Jonathan Majors, but also I think sometimes like with like the light skinned men, or if a Black man just carries himself, you know, not like a roughneck, like the MC Light record, you know, when she said she had to get a roughneck. If a Black man is like more, maybe he's like more like a button-down shirt and khakis, and maybe he's, I guess it's more like articulate, we may consider that lame or boring, or, he's not as tough, and that falls like under that toxic masculinity. And I think sometimes, I really think that a lot of what we do, we are like unaware. But Empress was saying, you identify that bias, you correct it, you acknowledge it. And I really think that the road to correcting it and acknowledging it is having conversations like this, where people can be like in a safe space. Nobody's gonna attack you or anything, for you to express like what you've done or what you've experienced, so that we can all, get better as a collective.
Does anybody else want to piggyback off of that? Because I got a question for y'all. Okay, I'll go ahead with my question. My question is like, when I think about dark skinned men that are praised in the, spotlight, do you think that Black women have a colorism issue more, or featureism? Because if I think about all the dark skinned Black men that are praised, they all have European features. They all have European. What do y'all think? Think of like a really popular Black man that's dark skinned, like real chocolate. Their nose
More,
is skinnier.
yeah, I
Their
agree.
lips are not too big. They don't have too much of like
I
African
definitely agree.
features.
What's the name? What's the name of the guy who plays in that movie Hunt for Jesus Save Your Soul? Have
Oh,
you ever seen this?
what
Crazy
is?
movie. I don't recommend
Yeah,
it. But
somebody gonna put it in the chat.
um,
Somebody put that in the chat
he was
because I
one.
Yeah.
forgot.
He was one of the first people I thought about. But Idris Elba, he doesn't
Idris
have as
Elba, yeah.
wide as seeing other people have. I Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, and that goes back to what I was saying is in our community, the preferences in the colorism and featureism are reversed in the genders. With
Yeah.
males, it's darker but more European features. With females, it's just light skin. They don't care what your features
Or
are.
when you think of like the dark skinned women that are praised, they do have European features. They have skinnier noses, like they don't have too much of African features. I think that's a bigger issue in our community is featureism. Because you may get away with your color as long as your hair is a certain way or your nose is a certain way. Because I had a light skinned friend and she would say when she would wear her natural hair, men would be like, "Oh, I'm surprised your hair looks like that." Like they just expected her hair to be, more fine texture. And then when she would wear her afro, they would just be like, "Oh, what are you trying to do? Like you trying to be a revolutionary? Like why does she have to make a statement because she's light skinned with that
I
you
I
know,
agree with that completely. I think it is a more of an issue with featureism in our community because I know for a fact when I wore my hair straight, I got more attention from uh, many black men because they see the lighter skin and they see the straight hair, and that's the featureism issue in their head that they're programmed to like or to think is beautiful. But when they see the thicker hair and the wider nose, because my family we have wide noses, they actually pause because the real issue is not really the complexion of your skin, but is your features. Do you look more European?
I agree. Um, when I was in my first experience, now that you ladies are talking with colorism, I think I experienced it very early on. So much so. Can I be transparent? Because you know how we do in the palace, y'all. It's royalty over here, but it's also transparency. Now that I think about and I'm hearing everybody share their stories, I'm looking at things in the chat, and she says, I believe Candace and Wendy got nose jobs. I have a larger nose as a Black girl, right? I didn't know nothing was wrong with me until little Black boys told me, you're ugly, your hair is nappy, And as a result, I diverted my attention away from little black boys to little Hispanic boys. And it's a wonder that my husband is Puerto Rican. So I went where I
What you
went where the
love.
people love me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they don't love me over here. And I didn't know subconscious bias. I didn't know all of that. When we think about what was the name of the case when hey, welcome Tanja J. Yes, welcome Queen. When we think about, you remember they had the dolls and they did like help me
A
out.
study. They did a study about
Experiment.
experiment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what was the case, y'all? It was a case.
It was about ugly.
Brown
Like, is
versus
this doll
Who
pretty or
the
What was
ugly?
it?
who
Brown versus what?
be
Brown
beautiful.
versus Board of Education.
Yes, where
The doll
they would
test
bring
in
little black
54.
girls and they said, this is the pretty one, this is the ugly one. Do you know they still do those studies to this day? And every
Yep.
child responds the same?
There's a
Oh,
documentary called Girl Like Me that came out in 2012, and they did the exact same experiment in that documentary, and it had the same exact results from 1954 as it did in 2012.
But we're
Very scary.
programmed. We're programmed through our cartoons. If you think
Mhm.
about your favorite cartoon, who was the villain? What color was the villain?
Black,
What
dark,
colors did the villains wear?
dark
So
reds, blues, blacks, purples.
so if we associate dark and wearing black is bad, who's the closest to that? So that's
Black
why kids,
magic, white magic.
yeah.
Mhm.
When you
Yep.
think of
and
heaven, you
yeah.
think of white, you think of
Yeah.
pure, you think of wearing white. When you think of evil, bad, the devil, you think of black.
Yep.
I'll
So
take it a step further. But
mhm.
Angels,
what
demons.
Casino Rule says, black women are gravitating to where they are appreciated. That's true in today's date, in
Mhm.
today's world. But somebody, I think it was the mind of Lilith that broke it down. I don't know if you're familiar with this content creator on
Love
YouTube.
her.
Mhm.
Her name
I,
is the mind of Lilith. She's also a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio, but she goes deep, deep, deep. I go deep. She goes deep, deep, deep. And she talks about the programming of women. And when you think about cartoon characters, the bad versus the good, not only were you talking about the dark, y'all are talking about, but also the evil woman, the older woman
So
that
I'm
was
glad.
mm,
jealous
I'm
of the
glad you brought
younger
that up.
woman. And she said, but was she really jealous, or was she trying to save the younger woman from being abused by the men that she had experienced? So they named her the evil stepmother, the
mm.
evil da da da. And all these women were trying to do was save these young girls from being preyed on
Mm-hmm.
by men that
Ursula.
desired and craved younger girls after they used up, right?
Facts.
The other
Mhm.
women. But
Queen
let me
Sheba.
pause.
Oh my God. I'm so
Hold
glad you
on, hold
brought
on.
that
Let me
point up.
pause. So my first experience with colorism was by way of a black boy. I didn't even know I was quote unquote ugly until he told me. And not only did he tell me, he named me. And I didn't
Oh
buy into
God.
that shit now. Come on now, y'all. Y'all know I can't be on Queen Sheba thinking but
Yeah.
I worked through that. But he called me Black Jesus.
What?
And then that Negro had the nerve to request me last year as a Facebook friend. Bro, I hope
Wow.
you see this glow up from Black Jesus. I should have named my page Black Jesus. Because that boy, you know
Low
what?
key,
That
that's a
boy called me.
compliment.
He was blacker than me.
Yeah.
He was blacker
Oh.
than the screen
And
and
Queen
picked on me.
Sheba, because
Go
of
ahead.
my Jamaican heritage, I was nicknamed African Booty Scratcher because I was
Oh
proud.
no.
My
I was
God.
proud of my African heritage because I was taught of my African
Hmm.
heritage at a time where the children that I grew up with, because I'm in my
Hmm.
50s, they did not know that they were even African.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Ebony,
So
what
it's a
do
there
you
goes
lie.
there
Ebony,
goes
what are
back
your
to my point.
thoughts?
It's epigenetic. Like, where do children learn this from? It's not like someone sitting around like teaching them like, oh yeah, don't fool with darkies. I mean, I know there are some people like that. Like, I feel like my mom a little color struck, but it wasn't like it was taught to me or anything like that. Um, but to go back to the point you were making earlier about whether or not it, how we experience it different from men and women. Gosh, it's I keep losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. It's like you'll say something and then a whole nother point will get made. And I'm like, dang, I forgot.
I wanted to say something really quick about the behaviors and how people view like dark skin versus on a man or a woman. I remember an award show with Fantasia and Jamie Foxx. They were presenting an award or something, and he like all of a sudden grabs her and kisses her, and she didn't ask for that. She didn't permit him to do that. And I kind of always felt like he kind of looked at her like he could just grab her and kiss her like that because she's like this brown skinned girl, because he don't marry, he don't date that kind, but you'll be physically aggressive, and let out your lust on this brown skinned girl. And I just feel like those are just like one of the behaviors, where people, they'll think like they can be more aggressive with Black women. They assume that we automatically will have a negative attitude, but like a lot of Black women, they have to be single moms. They have to hold everything down themselves. So they may exude some masculine energy, but it's only because they have to. But you still should be a gentleman with all of us, and not just some of us. And I feel like that is some of the things. That was a very deep point, to think how like on the Black man, a darker brother, he's seen as like the protector. And then we like discriminate against the light skinned brothers or prejudge them. And then on a dark skinned Black woman, she's like villainized and it's seen negatively. That is so true. I just cannot figure out for the life of me how we can change that, or if it will ever be changed. But I feel like it's crucial though, because like this panel, it's a wonderful vibe. We're all talking, listening to each other. I feel like out in the world when we're interacting, if you're sitting at the bar and if a guy is interested, I feel like the men are super aggressive. And I feel like it's because I'm not like high yellow and light and bright and all of that, and then you can't just politely say, no thanks. And then they get an attitude and they get more aggressive. And I feel like if you're like a brown skinned sister, that's what you are taking on.
I agree.
Sorry, just to
I
chime
agree.
in. I was just raised to defend myself. I was raised to be aggressive. I was
Hold on,
raised.
Empress. Aggressive or were you
Assertive.
raised to be assertive? Yeah, that's a great
Yeah, I
one.
knew you were going to use assertive because I know that in the community we don't tend to like aggression, but for me it doesn't bother me. I was raised to defend myself. My father taught me how to defend myself. My mother taught me how to defend myself, and they collectively as a unit taught me how to defend myself. So whether you call me assertive or aggressive, it will never offend me, because if a man comes to me the wrong way, he's going to get checked. And that's just the bottom of it. I don't care if he thinks I'm aggressive or if I'm manly or whatever. He
But
thinks of me.
but let me ask you this, because you're on a roll, and I love where you're going with this. What should he call you if you defend yourself? And the
He should call
moment
me
where you decide that you're defending yourself, are you being assertive or are you being aggressive?
he should call me a queen, because I'm defending myself and my kingdom, which is myself. He should call me a queen. But because I understand that most of the time society doesn't acknowledge women to the level that they should by calling them the B word as often as they do, I understand more than likely he'll call me aggressive, which is his understanding of me.
So really quickly, and then I'll let somebody else go. Just thinking about that B word, some female rappers have tried to like claim that. What is the term? Something appropriation. Like Megan Thee Stallion, she got a song, I'd rather be a bitch, because that's what you're gonna call me when I'm tripping anyway. So
She took that from Tupac.
Yeah, and Missy Elliott says she got a song, I'm a bitch when I'm like, and I'm sorry for cursing, Queen Shiba, but
girl, I'll be cursing, girl, in my head all day. Go ahead.
But if we assert ourselves or we're aggressive, like Empress said, they'll pull out that B word. They'll pull it out real quick, like a debit card. But like Missy and Meg the Stallion, they like took it and they flipped it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'll be that then. If it means to you I'm tripping, but I'm speaking up for myself.
Sound
So
like
to answer your
I
question,
agree wholeheartedly.
who was that?
which part?
Empress,
Who said that? I agree wholeheartedly.
Empress.
That was
Okay.
Empress.
Okay. So to answer
I
your
said
question,
like
Empress, I
first.
want you to follow up. Let's mute up, y'all, just so we won't have a echo. So I sit in a. So we have the palace, which is Queen Shiba's page, and you guys are the palace, right? This is our community. So there's different sides of YouTube. I represent Queens is laughing. Girl, I'm so glad that she said she does not agree with what we talking about, but that's good because in the palace, that's how we reach a decision. We got to go back and forth in the conference room, right? At the king's table, the queen's table, but that's okay. I love it. So there's different sides of YouTube that you ladies and you people in the chat probably have no idea that exists. There's a side of YouTube that does not like you as Black women.
The manosphere. The
It's
red
called the
Yep.
manosphere. B.
Mixed
Taylor and I are resident panelists on 2 networks that go hard against Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And we fight to the core, honey. I don't even share that I'm on there because I don't even want y'all to see the queen like that. The queen be chopping heads off.
Yes.
Person and
I
off
love
with
it.
your head kind of rhetoric. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm glad
The
y'all
wa-
represent.
No, but the war against Black women, you think it's colorism? It comes down to gender bias.
Mm-hmm.
You just wrong because you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna start with your Black woman, and then once we
Don't let you
annihilate
be
the
a
Black
mother.
women, we're gonna trickle down to the other women. The
Yeah,
fact
don't
that
let
you're
you
a
be a
woman,
mother either.
yes.
I was Western women. That's what
Alf
it
Max, she said it's called the red pill sector, and it's violent and it's volatile. And I discovered it by accident. Well, actually, I didn't. B. Taylor drugged me into that.
I
You
sure
need to take
did.
accountability for that. I thought I was walking into a nice little cozy atmosphere to talk about
Mm-mm.
empowerment. Okay. And I got my ass kicked. But then
it's
I
so
had to boss up as a queen.
Y'all be on the feet.
it's
And
so
I was
inconsistent though. It's so inconsistent. Some Black men, some men as a whole, they pick and choose when they want women to be submissive. So you want me in the bedroom upstairs, a man takes me up there, he wants me to be submissive, okay? And he wants me to get in the position for him to have a good time. But like if the mortgage is due on the 1st, then where are you? We're not in a committed relationship.
Child
Oh,
speak.
the mortgage is just on me now. So I hate the inconsistency. Even with finding out on the Real Housewives of Atlanta that Drew and Ralph are divorcing, he had the nerve to put in the divorce documents that she hasn't contributed to the household financially. Well, so what? You're the man. You're the husband, aren't you? Why is that even an argument? I don't know why that was a point anyway. But they pick and choose, and it has to be 100%. If you want me to like treat you like you're the head, and I'm your partner, your helpmate, then you actually need to kick it up a notch. And you can't just have me submissive in the bedroom and when you want to. It's got to be 100%. So like in that red pill sector, I can't even listen to them because I'll be so triggered. And the first thing they'll do is try to come for my looks. I don't care how I look to you. I'm fine to me. So yeah, I hate the inconsistency.
They come for your looks first. And I think the only person that knows I exist over there as a moderator, there's 2, will be Daryl Long and DeSosa. So what they do is they break you down, they peel you apart. So when y'all are talking colorism, I'm like, that's the least of your worries. When you enter into different spaces of YouTube, they're going to peel you back. They're going to go for you. They're going to go for your attitude. If they can't get you with that, they're going to go for your looks. If they can't get you with that, they're going to go for your hair texture. I came on one day, my hair is looking nice. I'm just well groomed. They attacked my hair. Okay. Like, hold on. Then they go for your age. Then they go for your fertility. They are going to come after you just because you are a Black and a woman. So when we talk colorism, I'm like, that's the least of your problems. As African American women and women of color, you have no idea idea what's waiting for you on the other side of the door by way of.
But what's scary about that is like
Mhm.
now these men, because of Kevin Samuels and creating a voice for these men, we really just finding out how Black men really think of us. It's really
Yes.
hurtful if you
Yeah.
really look at it from that point of view. Because I went viral in a sense in the manosphere. They hate me over there. They always clip me and talk about me. They talk about my hair. If it's a wig, I'm not even wearing a wig, but they're just going to assume that I'm a wig wearing ratchet welfare queen. And I'm like, y'all are our worst enemies because who needs the white man to stereotype us when the Black man is running in a marathon for it?
Yes.
So let me ask
Yeah.
this, because this is the
Go
point I
ahead.
was going
Go
to make
ahead.
earlier
Was
that
that
I forgot.
Jasmine? Go ahead, Jasmine.
Yeah, this is the point I was going to make earlier that I forgot about basically how these tropes of um how we are perceived as darkest, or how darker skinned women are perceived in general and Black women are perceived, how that comes from the whole mammy tropes, Jezebel tropes, all that stuff from the vaudeville days when they were in blackface, so on and so on. And the reason why darker skinned men are more valued than darker skinned women is because that's just how they set it up in cinema. You think about Paul Robeson opposite someone like Dorothy Dandridge. You didn't see when you saw darker skinned women in Hollywood, you saw a maid, or just you didn't see someone of value, and really you didn't see someone of value really up to like the 80s. Because I mean, think about the whole single woman trope, how that was perpetuating Claudine. So it just seems like as Black women, we've never really been given a fair shake in media. And I read something today from one of my favorite sectors of YouTube, or channels on YouTube. It's called Thought Crimes. I recommend everybody check them out from time to time. But anyway, Prince, he put up a post today. He said politics um and entertainment are one of the most evil forms of propaganda there is. And he is so right, because they really do go hand in hand, especially if you know the history of Edward Bernays and being the nephew of Freud. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day. Anyway, um they use this propaganda to really incentivize people to be against us, because if we were to rise in our power, we would take over, and it would be the end of the whole capitalistic cycle that we're on, because they make money. You know how much money that sector of YouTube makes? There's no reason that the Fresh podcast should be sponsored. There's no reason that, even, I mean, people may like Anton Daniels and Lapeef and all that, fine by it, but I don't like none of those people who they only seem to demonize women. There's nothing wrong with men. Men are the greatest thing on earth. If they could marry a man and not be homosexual, they would. It's just the most.
That part.
You know the scary part though, Jasmine,
Hmm.
is the Black women that are venturing into those spaces that are.
Ooh, don't
Come
get me
on, y'all
started on them
pause. Hold on.
pickies.
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Ladies, you got now what's happening is the tides are turning. The men led the charge. The women are taking over the weapons and attacking each other. There's a whole space of Black women. So when I say there are no victims from colorism, I'm thinking about the larger problems that we're up against. There are Black women that don't like you because you're a single mother. There are Black women that don't like you because you're educated. They're like, when I got into those spaces, I'm like, sis, for real? There are Black women that are preaching hate against Black women. And I'm like, whoa. And it's taking me time to absorb that and come up with a intellectual response to it. I'm still processing it after 4 months.
Yep.
So
Can I
how do
say?
you
Can
know
I
what
say?
you're
Can I
not?
say one Black woman name? Can I
Sure.
say that? So it was Crimson Cure. She came for me as a Black woman, a dark skinned Black woman. Came for me, talked about my kids, talked about my life, just
She's
dogging me
horrible.
out worse than probably with the men. And I'm like, it's just something about a black woman dogging out a woman and her children, even questioning if one of my children are even black. And I wanted to respond
Oh,
so
wow.
bad with so much hate and anger, because you don't come for a mama's bear cub. Like, you don't come for the cubs, that's war. But I had to hold back and refrain, because I'm like, these women look for the validation from these toxic men, and they're making money from it. They're like, oh, I'm gonna follow the hate train to hate women as a black woman. Like, it just seemed like the black woman has no space to make mistakes or have a
Yeah.
learning curve.
And not be safe either. Like the famous quote people often quote from Malcolm X, black women are the least protected. What I didn't understand was, okay, you should have kept talking, Mr. Shabazz, and you should have said, so y'all black men need to protect them more. Like if you're
Oh,
saying,
but they did. He did. They never quote that part though. He did. They never
okay,
quote that part.
good, because I've never seen that quote anywhere. I'm like, he should have taken it further and said, and black men need to protect them. But I feel like, and that's another thing we don't talk about, Queen Sheba, what you were just saying about the black women who are venturing over to Red Pill. We also don't often talk about how some of us can be so mean to each other. And this is just my individual experience. For me, like, in being in the black church with like older black women, they can fire off some weapons. I mean, they're obsessed
Mhm.
with like how shapely you are. They're because I
Mhm.
think they're so convinced that all the men in their age group are looking at you. And I mean, so like what that got to do with me, and then they're obsessed if like they can see tattoos and what you're doing and this, that, and the third. And it's just very judgmental, very harsh. And it's like if anybody's like walking into church, I doubt it that, they really feel like dealing with all of the criticisms. And I think like that's just like another thing that we got to work on, But black women, we put up with so much. And then
We
some of
do. Long
the,
suffering. And
yes.
it's I'm not gonna say what I want to say, but we have been conditioned as a people to not complain. Pause on that. And when everybody said, what do you mean? When you say, I'm not gonna say nothing, nah, I ain't gonna say nothing. You've been conditioned to not say nothing. And you should be saying something by way of your marriage. Let's just start in your personal life. Because the best place to practice is at home. When your kids do something, I ain't gonna say that. When your mother-in-law do something, I ain't gonna say that. When your husband do something, I ain't gonna say that. And then start to filter it out and delegate it out further from home, right? The grocery store, I ain't gonna say that. You've been conditioned. That is historical as a
And it's
slave
self,
to not
it's
complain.
self,
And
it's
and
self
it's not right.
betrayal.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's self betrayal when you don't
Hmm.
speak up for yourself as well. You're
And it's
like,
not normal and it's not right.
mhm.
And it takes away your delicateness and your tenderness to say, ouch, that hurts. And the more I ain't gonna say nothing, you build up a Teflon covering that's not true to who you are and who God made you to be. You're missing out on the beautiful moments of life by, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Oh, can I
Say
jump in
something.
right there?
I
Who's
agree,
that? Who is
Rose.
that? Who wants to
I'll
jump in?
jump in
Go ahead,
after
Empress.
you.
Go ahead, Empress.
What
Oh,
I just have to say is this. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And people like me, I am not the I won't say nothing type. If something offends me and it offends me repeatedly, I'm going to make sure I check that something to make sure that it doesn't offend me anymore. And I've been labeled a troublemaker. I've been throughout my family, etc., and even professionally, because there are certain behaviors that I will not tolerate. I won't even tolerate another coworker disrespecting another coworker. I won't tolerate a coworker disrespecting me, even if it's just a slight comment. I check it immediately, but that's considered being a troublemaker. But I'm okay with being the labels that people want to throw at me, because I know that's not who I am. Because what I do is I defend myself. And as you say, this is your queendom. You, when you're defending yourself, you're defending your queendom. You don't allow people to just come and throw rocks at you, throw darts at you, throw insults at you, belittle you. You defend yourself and you don't take it.
You're right, Empress.
I
And
love
that is
it. Lady D, do you want to add anything, honey? Lady D is she belongs in the palace. Like when I think about her patience and how she sits and wait, Lady D, you always come up. You just wait in the background. Like if I wasn't queen, I would consider making you queen. But let me see what you got to say first before I give you that title.
Girl. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Queen. Um, my God. When you said what you said about the whole wait, I'm not gonna say nothing. I don't want to say nothing. Should I say something? I was thinking like that's Giselle. Cause remember when they were talking about her surgery and her getting the hysterectomy, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk. We'll talk about that later. We're not gonna talk about that now." And then Andy Cohen said, "No, we're gonna talk about that now." So I think she has a little bit of that going on too. So I think sometimes it's just not a light skin, dark skin thing. Sometimes we are who we are, and she is who she is. So for me, um, being a dark skinned woman, I love my chocolate skin. I love my chocolate skin, and I love my chocolate brothers. But sometimes the chocolate brothers don't love me. And I've been in a relationship with a light skinned dude before too, and he treated me good. He treated me just as fine as dark skinned men. I think sometimes it is a what you prefer, but sometimes you don't have to get with what you prefer. Sometimes God will put something else that you need in your path instead of what you prefer.
I think Black women are the most loyal women when it comes to colorism. I
Yeah.
If I could
Yeah.
break down to y'all what I do for a living, and if we start there, and then what I do for volunteerism, and then what I do inside of my organization by way of executive coaching, and then what I do by way of volunteering, by way of in the community in the church, and the amount of stories that I encounter from women and then Black women. So there's women. Let me say this. When I first started doing what I did, Black women did not have access to me based on the corporations that I work for. One day I woke up and I said, wait a minute. And I looked at myself and I said, you are making a difference in the lives of others, but not in the lives of your own community. And people are profiting off of your skill set. But how are you helping Black women? And then I had to say, I'm not, based on the corporation that I work for. And then God challenged me to say, how do you make a difference? What you're doing is valuable, but how do you reach the people in your community? I was like, oh, that's a challenge. Because how do I get Black women and Black men to talk? So what happened is that was very challenging. Other races talk. They're going to tell you, I'm stressed about this and my husband isn't helping with this. Black folks don't want you in their business. They're not going to tell you I feel this way because of the color of my skin. I feel this way because my child's father isn't up to par. I feel this way because my husband is an asshole. As far as me and my household, as far as you know, we're good. And that's what I was up against. But God began to help me to formulate an entryway into helping people. And when I really got in there, not when I got in there, it's by way of him. I was like, damn. Black women are human, and not only are they human, they are internalizing this hurt. They are internalizing this pain from so many. They're getting darts. Have you ever? It's like an animal being hunted, and everybody's shooting a dart at you. Your boss, your husband, your mother-in-law. Break it down. Think of your own experiences. And I was like, that's
Sometimes your
deep.
sister-in-law.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, where do we start? And then I thought, I'm not going to start with how does she get a man? How does she keep a man? Her hair. I'm going to start with what would you do if you were building a house? What's important? And God said, help her to lay a strong foundation. And that's what my page is about. When you hear me go in and say, Drew, I wish you well. Your divorce is good. That's a strong foundation. When you hear me talk about Melody and Martell, strong foundation. And that's what God gave me to give to you ladies. So colorism is not a thing unless you make it a thing. Come on. Think about all the shit that you're up against. And somebody don't like you because of the color of your skin. Go behind the wall. You can find a way behind that. There are no victims here. You get what I'm saying? When I say there are no
Yes.
victims here, Jasmine, I'm gonna move you to the top, Jasmine.
I'm about to say, because I don't.
Because that's what me. I was like, there ain't no victims here. We've overcome so much as women. We've overcome so much as people. And my own black person don't like me because of the color of my skin. Girl, bye. Now, here's the thing. I want to pose this to y'all. Carlos King said, how dare you bring up the issue of colorism and give it 2 minutes? Was he saying that there was an issue of colorism, or was he saying that the topic of colorism deserved more than a 2-minute segment? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he was saying both, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think he was saying that colorism, if we're going to address it, it definitely needs to be more than 2 minutes. But also, I do think that he feels that there's an air of colorism, because if you like tune into his show or his YouTube channel, the way he layered the conversation with OG and then hit roll up and then put the clip out about colorism specifically from OG's interview, you can tell that he does feel that there's an air of colorism on that cast, as a person who's worked both on roll up and roll up. Because like I posted in the chat earlier, I said, why don't we hear about colorism on Roa? There are dark skinned women on there, such as Kenya. Now, there aren't the range of skin tones is just not the same as it is on Potomac. So that may play a factor, but you just don't see these type of shenanigans going on Atlanta. And it just could simply boil down to their personalities and how they choose to move about life. But I mean, let's be honest, Phaedra was fired for her lie. Was Mia fired for her lie? You know, so I
Hold
think
on, hold on.
there are a lot of
So here's the thing. Let's back up. Phaedra's lie was a crime. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. Phaedra's lie was the RAPE word. Mia's lie was consensual. I think you slept with blah, blah, blah. I think you was being a little 304. Hold on.
Nope.
Hold on. Okay, explain to us, what lie are you referring to?
Okay. So the lie that I'm referring to is her saying that she had footage of Wendy sleeping with Peter. Her saying that is a crime, because if that was true and she had seen basically pornography, I'm gonna keep the channel pure, without Wendy's consenting to that film being made, that is revenge porn, and that is a crime. So in the implications that go with that, they teeter too much on the line of what's legal and what's not legal, what's moral and what's not moral. They just, no, I'm sorry.
Can you say
They
Candace
thought,
is guilty of that too, when she said, Michael Darby, you went to this man's house and would that be revenge porn?
no, because did she say that there was a video?
It don't matter.
It
There was
does,
an
because
account
an
of
account
pornography.
an account of something and the video footage of something is two different things. One is corn and one is not.
No, if I said I seen you on video, and if I say
She
somebody
didn't say
told me
that.
you, hold on. If I say somebody told me you did it, whether he has a video or not, are they all headed in the same direction? Is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely not.
Okay, the rest of the panel, what do y'all think? If I come to you and I say, your man or your girl, mute up, y'all, because we got an echo. If I come to you and I say, girl, we see you on video, or girl, he told me you did this. Is it revenge in and of itself? Yes or no?
So I actually know that law, revenge porn, it would have to be you sending an actual video or pictures of someone without their consent to other people. It can be one person, a whole bunch of people, it can be a group text message, it can be social media. But saying that you saw a video, that could lead, I could see where the line is thin there, because if there is a video and someone shared it with you, that is revenge porn. But you saying you saw a video and that's not real, that's not revenge porn. That's just you're like lying
Okay.
about it to scare me. So I can see why you're saying that, because if it was true, that is revenge porn, because you're sharing it without my consent to another party, a third party.
Does the same apply to a rumor? And Jasmine, the reason why I'm doing this is to show you how open-minded I am, to challenge my own thoughts. I appreciate when y'all show up in the chat. What I don't like is when people say, you're a colorist because you don't agree with me. You're a colorist because you don't understand where Wendy's coming from. Jasmine, you never came at me like that. Those people get
No.
blocked.
I don't
You,
think
you
you're a
see what I'm
colorist.
saying? That's like somebody saying, I believe a certain way because of my religion, and I believe this person should be married to this person. They are not a hater. That's just how they were raised. Does that make sense? And if you were
Mhm.
raised with a little bit more liberalism and freedom, that doesn't make you a bad person. It's just difference, right? So let me pause. But Jasmine, I really like the fact that you are here. You didn't run away. You're showing up and you're showing out. Empress, what are your thoughts?
I just want to piggyback and go back to Carlos and his 2 minute segment complaint. For me, I have a trust issue with Carlos because I see him as a narrative pusher. I don't see his authenticity. I see him using and weaponizing his tears to actually gain favor so that he can get what he wants, right? Because he knows that colorism is not the issue. That he knows what the real issues are on these reality shows because he participates in them. And I was listening to Empress Radio, and from what I'm hearing, this is what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but Letitia is saying that she's blaming colorism as an excuse as to why fans don't like her, right? Rather than holding herself accountable for her behaviors
Right.
and all of it. It's all colorism. And she's playing Carlos' interview with OG. What offends me about that is OG actually went through colorism. So they're using a
Mhm.
tactic. So my issue is the dishonesty with Carlos King and all of these reality stars using colorism as a tactic. They don't really want to address the issue. They just want to use it to profit from it. So I don't trust him. And until he gets his cast members to actually
Mm,
address their real issues, like
mhm.
Letitia's insecurities and her insecurities within herself, her marriage, etc., none of that stuff is ever going to fly with me because I'm not sure what type of audience he's used to, but perhaps he's not used to a thinking audience that can see through his foolishness because I see it as a tactic and I don't trust him. And the more he cries about it and the more he talks about it, and uses a real issue of colorism by interviewing OG and using it and then having Letitia, who is willing to do his bidding, that causes me to distrust him even more.
And Letitia is far off the radar. Girl, you're actually, if anything, she should be ashamed. She was one of my favorites based on her skin tone, her mannerisms, and what I perceived her to be, and what she posed herself to be by way of her introduction into reality television. Docile, traditional, feminine. And lo and behold, 2 to 3 years later, post introduction, we found out you were everything outside of what you tricked us to be. So the viewer reaction towards you has nothing to do with your skin tone, but everything to do with your misperception and your attitude. And if we can pause there, who wants to go next to share?
Can I say one more thing, and I'm a dip because I got to get ready for BMS. So just to go back off of I'm so glad you brought up Tisha, because I was gonna bring that up too and I forgot. I did see that another YouTuber had posted, or basically reposted what Tisha said, and put in their title that basically Tisha was trying to say that she was experiencing colorism on the show. And I'm like, she didn't say that. All she did was repost all the commentary that has been going on about colorism this week. Tisha's a viewer just of the world, just like the rest of us. And I'm pretty sure as a dark-skinned woman, she has experienced colorism in her life. In what she posted, she never once said that she was experiencing colorism on Love and Marriage Huntsville. I do think that was a reach or a correlation that people were trying to make. That's just my opinion on that. I don't go up for I loved me some Tisha at first. I do not go up for her anymore. Mel is my girl all day. And if indeed her intention was to say that, oh, the reason that people don't like her on the show or whatever is because of colorism, she's flat out wrong. The reason people don't like her is because she sucks as a person. Has nothing to do with her skin tone at all, because people don't like Stormy either. And she's lighter than her. And people rag on Kimmy, and Kimmy's lighter than all of them.
Yeah.
And same with Margarine. You know what I'm saying? So no, if there's any show that colorism is not a part of, Love and Marriage Huntsville, it is effed up in so many other ways. Thank God colorism ain't one of them. And on that, I holler at y'all.
And let me ask y'all this. Is colorism an issue in the Black community? Who wants to tackle that first?
I do. I think so. I think it's not only in the Black community. I think that it's in people of color, the Indian community, Asian community. It's really major. Actually, I think we're really not. We really don't know how bad it is, because they have. I mean, they specialize in bleaching so bad in every one of their beauty products. It's bleach products, to lighten their skin. And the commercials out there, I think there was a commercial some years ago where it was like a soap, and it was like a darker skinned person, and they said that they were dirty, and all they needed to do was take a bath, and they'll be clean and lighter. And that's how they associate darker skin. So in the Asian community, it's really, really bad out there. In the Latino, I think I'm saying that right, the Latino community, it's really bad. I mean, think about Haiti and what's going on with the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They don't even want Haitians coming over there and, quote unquote, and like filtering out the lighter skinned people with their darker skin. So they're trying to protect their people from mixing in with the people of Haiti because of skin color. So it's just honestly, it's a problem within all of our communities. I think the problem is with us is that our men really, limit our opportunities. Like when a Black man become a producer of a movie or a director, they want to choose the lighter skinned women as those roles. They want to choose the lighter skinned women as the most desired. Like, it's sad because once we finally do get in power, we just replicate what the white people were doing. We just keep it going. So it's like, when are we gonna stand up and say, you know what? I want to cast a darker skinned woman as the beauty role and not the lighter skinned woman. But there was a casting call a few years ago, and it was like, for the pretty girls, we want girls with light skin, light eyes, hair, mixed hair, or something like that, biracial or Hispanic. They're even casting Hispanic women who are not, uh, what is it called? Black. They're not, uh well, they don't have like African descent.
African diaspora.
No, that they're not from Africa. Because when they say Latino, they get mad because they be like, "It's some black Latinos." Okay, but I'm talking about the white Latinos, but they're not white. You know what I'm saying?
Afrocentric.
Yeah, Afrocentric. They're not talking about those. They're starting to take Latina women and cast them as lighter skinned black women. So lighter skinned black women are getting replaced by Latina women.
Hold on. And also stunt devils. So listen, when you're watching movies, let me tell you what they're doing now. When we talk about colorism, when you're watching movies and they have an in-shape black woman, Black Panther, and you see flips and turns, that is a white man normally painted black.
Oh my God.
Y'all didn't know that? The flips, the turn, the running, the racing, the jumping.
I've heard of that.
I just want y'all to, when we talk, like, let's break it down. If we're gonna, and this is not a hate-filled conversation. This is an educational purpose conversation, so you understand what's
Yeah.
being placed in front of you, so that when you walk away with an educated assumption on how you can move forward and what you're looking at without being tricked and or fooled.
Mm.
It's very important, you guys, for you to know the history and the genre and how and who's in charge of movies and what they call it, movies and Hollywood. So
Producers,
stunt doubles.
yeah.
Listen, hold on, Journey. That's Jasmine. She says, my jaw. I did not know that until my husband actually turned me on to documentaries. Those are normally in shape white men that can diet to a T. It's almost like the guys that ride, what do they call jockeys? Jockeys that ride horses. When you talk about horse races, they can get their weight up or down. They live so they can accommodate their body weight to fit the main character, who's often African American, right? When you think about Tom Cruise, now Tom Cruise can do his own stunts, but he's a little man. When you think about that, go back and look at like Tom Cruise. And then when my husband showed me, I was like, I didn't know that wasn't Jada Pinkett Smith on that motorcycle. I didn't know that wasn't Jada Pinkett Smith in The Matrix. I didn't know that was a white man with a wig on that they painted his skin dark.
Oh my God.
There is a lot of production that goes into what do y'all call it? Taking over the culture.
Yeah.
Taking over. I don't know the right word. And that's not to create a division. Appropriation. That I am not creating a division. I am simply introducing you to awareness and education. So that's when these women sit and say, colorism, girl, get out my face. We're up against larger barriers. Girl, get out my face when you talk about colorism. Because you signed up for this and you getting paid for this. But what about the girl?
I love you for having this commentary, because this
Thank
is a
you.
discussion that needed to be had.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? B. Taylor, who wants to moderate for me? I got to step away for 2 seconds. Empress, go.
I love you for having this commentary, because this is a discussion that needed to be had. Because I think a lot of times people got caught in the weeds and they're like trapped in the matrix, and they don't understand that they're a part of the problem. Because the real issue is self-hatred. The real issue is, how many forms of self-hatred, whether you're going against people's families, against people's looks, against people's age, against people's body types, All of that is wrong against people's complexions. All of that is wrong. And when you have your insecurities and within yourself that you don't address properly, you're going to actually weaponize your insecurities and aim them at other women. And
Yeah.
that, for me, is the problem in these reality shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I can see the names at the bottom. But did you want to piggyback off of that or add to that?
Yes. Well, I don't want to add to that part, but I do want to
Mhm.
add to, when black men say, "Oh, I want a light skinned woman with long, pretty hair," they don't think we have hair. They think we
Oh
just
my
wear
God,
wigs
yeah.
all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
no, my hair used to be in the middle of my back. I just cut it like 2 or 3 years ago. But now my
Yeah.
hair is almost back to where it was 3 years ago. So my hair grows fast. I don't know, me and my mom, we had those genes, even my brother, we all had those genes so our hair could just grow like crazy. And
Okay.
when me and my mom
Yeah.
first moved to Washington, her hair was all the way down to her ankles. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
like,
Let me say
come
this real
on.
quick. I got a super chat. I'm sorry, Lady D. I want to give the mic back to
Oh, that's
you.
cool.
But Joyce Miles, thank you, Queen, for blessing the channel with your super chat tonight. She says, loving you in the panel. So informative. Ladies, can I say this? It's so
Yes.
important that we have these conversations. When you think of the YouTube space, when we talk about Black community, Black people of color, important issues, they're normally hosted by men
Hmm.
because there's not enough women that get along to be able to sit in a space of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You ladies have shown up and showed out. With the exception of B. Taylor, none of you are bloggers or content creators, and you have held your own. And I just want to genuinely thank you and thank you, Joyce. It's because of these ladies that showed up tonight and had the courage to click that link
Yes.
that we were able to deliver this conversation. Now, listen, don't be shy. I'm going to drop the link in the chat one more time. Y'all stop being shy. That's how I got over my barriers and my insecurities by starting YouTube. I didn't even want to be on camera with y'all. I was like, I'm not going to let these folks see me so they can make fun of me. Hell no. But that's how I got over it. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Get over it. Because when you practice here, you show up phenomenally in corporate America. All right. Back to you, Lady
Hmm.
D.
Oh no, I was done. I was just saying how my mom hair used to be down to her ankles, and black men don't think we have hair because they
Yeah,
think
that's
we're wigs all the time,
sad.
thinking that we ain't got no hair. No, we got hair.
Do you
It's
think
just
that?
sometimes.
Mhm. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go
Can I
ahead.
say this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just sometimes we don't like wearing our hair. Sometimes we
Hmm.
just don't. We want to switch it up. We want to put on a wig. We want to make it look like how we want it to look.
Yeah,
But
I
go
want to
ahead,
add
Queen.
to that because I think that we as women also have to take some accountability with our hair because we're the
Hmm.
ones that hide our hair so much, and I was guilty of that. I can say that with confidence because I was one of those girls. I grew up. My hair's always been down my back as well. And the black girls used to tell me, you think you white. And I never understood what they meant by that. They used to call me white girl. And I was like, well, okay, I know I talk a little different, but it was like when I got my hair pressed out, oh, they was ready to fight me that day. And I used to tell my grandma, please don't press out my hair because I'm gonna get in a fight today. And I already know what's up. They're gonna tell me, you think you a white girl, don't you? And I never knew what that meant until I got older. But as I got older and started playing with wigs and weaves, and you know what? The boys was loving it. The young boys was loving the wigs and the weaves and the flowy hair. They used to talk about how they want a Spanish girl with curly hair. Okay, I may not be Spanish, but I'm gonna put on this curly wig to get your
Okay.
attention. Okay, I'm gonna be a little Spanish boo. Okay, so I was giving into that, but you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be real transparent with y'all. I'll never forget. I was wearing wigs, and I mean, I was wearing the lace front wigs. Baby, I forgot how I looked. I remember I took that wig off. I was like, girl, no, who are you? I didn't even know who I was. My forehead was bigger. Okay. I was like, my head shape a little different. I forgot how I looked because the wig shaped my forehead. It made it smaller. You know, it made my head shape a little different. And I forgot who I was. I forgot who B. Taylor was. And I said, I don't like what I'm looking at in the mirror because this is me. So I could see why women get so attached to their wigs because we start to identify that as who we are. And we be having long hair under these wigs. And then we lie to
Right.
ourselves and say, well, I don't want to damage my hair. I don't There's so many different things we can do to our hair. Our hair is not going to fall off our head if we get a blowout. We got to just make sure we invest in our hair. It's okay to wear your hair at times. Stop hiding your hair. Stop hiding your hair. Do some things with your hair. I now wear clip-ins. I get my hair pressed out. My hair still grows. My hair is still growing long and it's healthy. I get a deep condition and taken care of. Just as much as we can invest all this money in our wigs, let's invest in our hair, ladies, because we do got to take some accountability in that. We don't even like how we look no more without the wigs.
It's funny you say that. There's a stylist on Instagram that I've been following for a while, and she specializes in healthy hair, but also making women feel confident. And her value prop, her statement that she brings to the market is, if you're not comfortable, I can help you feel comfortable with your hair by adding pieces, but not a full-blown wig. And what she does is she goes in and she treats your hair, and in between layers of your hair, she adds just a little bit of layer until you become comfortable. And each time she takes a layer off, because she says your hair is already beautiful. I know that. I just got to get. I have to convince you of that. I think B. Taylor, you bring up a very important issue of acceptance. So when I hear conversations
when
like,
you're ready for me, I can speak on that because
okay,
I'm actually a little backwards on that.
give me 2 seconds. I want you to go next. Everybody mute up. So when we talk about colorism, is it really colorism or a lack of self-acceptance? Empress, you're up next.
I definitely think it's a lack of self acceptance. I was the opposite. I was the non wig wearer and non weave wearer, and I always wore my natural hair, right? So I tried to fit in by wearing weaves. And then I realized that's not what I really want because I don't resonate with weaves because I didn't feel like myself. So then I stopped wearing weaves altogether and I went back to my natural hair. And my natural hair was long because I always cared for my natural hair. And it was always mid back length. And I got sister locks and now it's at my behind, but I have to twist it up to keep it from being too long. So I think once you accept yourself, you know yourself, and you care for yourself as you're supposed to care for yourself, all of those things will come naturally. Your hair growth, all of that. Whether you choose to wear a wig or a weave, that should be your choice, not because you don't feel comfortable in the skin that you're in. Like I said, I actually felt like out of place because most women were wearing wigs and weaves and I wasn't. So then I started trying to do it. And then I realized, no, that's not for me. And I'm not going to do it just to fit in. I'm going to continue to embrace myself. And however long it takes them to catch up to me to embrace themselves, then so be it. So for me, your experience was actually my opposite.
I have a question as we begin to wrap up, and I'm multitasking. For those that are tuned, men have experiences with colorism. Men have experiences with questioning, damn, she gonna like this? She not gonna like this? I heard her say her child is B. Taylor, light. I'm dark as fuck. Excuse my language. Like, come on, like, and I done ran into this problem again. When we think about colorism as a whole, community, when we think about colorism specific to African American women, when we think about colorism specific to African American men. Also, Hispanic cultures. It's not just specific to us, y'all. I asked so first of all, my husband is a lovely, sexy Puerto Rican man. Y'all not, if you're my members only, yes, you see how sexy and fine my husband is. Yes, dark-skinned woman, I got all that. That's mine.
Period.
Tanja J, y'all see him, uppity, you not in there, Linda Gamble, all y'all see. All of my, B. Taylor, all of y'all that are members only, y'all get a picturesque of my life. But the point I'm trying to make is, what message would you have on an individual level, a communal level? What would you say? Because men experience colorism as well. For the chat, anybody want to come up and just share their experience? Y'all stop saying, oh, I don't know how to talk. You know how to talk. Get up in here, because y'all be on social media cursing people out. Don't play with me. Get up here. Let me see you from the back end of the chat. You're a real person. Turn your camera off and share your thoughts. Start practicing talking as Black people, because we don't have enough people to come up and talk because you're shy. We need more of that. And today just may be the day where you break your shyness and start your own YouTube page. See what it feels like. All right. Who wants to tackle what I said?
About the
Queen, could
men.
I say? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
No, go
Lady
ahead.
D. Go ahead, Lady
Yeah.
D. You've been pretty quiet.
I was just gonna say, when I was in high school, I blew out my hair because, like I told you, I had a curl. So I blew out my hair, and I wore it straight that day. They literally pulled my hair just to make sure it was growing out my scalp. I literally was like, oh my God. So I came home. My mama seen my hair and she was like, what in the world what happened to your hair? You left here and your hair was done. I said, Mom, they pulled my hair just to make sure it was growing out my scalp. And she was like, oh my God. So it was one of those things to where I felt like, well, dang, I can't even wear my hair straight without y'all thinking it's weed. That's crazy. Why? It's like, you don't think, Black women can have hair on their head? Cause
Are we
like,
mean to each other? Would it be? Are we mean to each other, y'all?
yes,
Yes.
definitely. That was just mean and degrading and it was horrible. I I think it's like, we gotta be nice to each other. Everybody needs to get along, but I don't think it's ever gonna happen because most people are just selfish and don't care about nobody but themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Victoria Ryan says, is hair and colorism synonymous? Who wants to take that on?
I think so. I'm a little tired, so I'm like synonymous. Dang, what's that? I know what that
One
is.
and
I
the
just my
same.
brain.
One and the
One and
same,
the
right?
same. Yeah. Yeah,
The
I think that's what I
discrimination that
said.
comes with it. The texture of the
Yeah.
hair. I think that's what she means.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier because think about it. Who is that? Bernice. I think her name is Bernice. Y'all know who Bernice is? She's like older, but she real pretty. And so many Black men in the entertainment industry sought after her, not only because she got a nice body, but for you to be a dark skinned woman, it feels like in like to be highly desired, you gotta have a big old butt, wide hips, small waist, um, silky hair, and European features. That's what I see that's getting praised. I follow this page called Dark Skin Women. And I remember I followed it because I was just so infatuated with all these beautiful dark skinned women. But then I started to notice a pattern. I said all the dark skinned women they post got long hair and European features. They don't never post the ones with the Afrocentric nose and lips. Like it's all proportioned. They don't post the ones where their bodies are just normal women bodies. They gotta be exotic, dark skinned Black women. So yeah, I think they're one and the same. And I think Bernice has pretty privilege as a dark skinned woman because she has curly curly, silky hair, and she also has a really nice body, and then she has a really skinny nose, and just basically European features. So she gets a pass.
I want to challenge you,
Mm-hmm.
retailer.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's some of the benefits of having pretty privilege?
A lot. I mean,
Name it off.
from
Give
corporate,
me the top 3 that comes to mind.
job opportunities for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Job
Number 1.
opportunities. Um, when you go out, you're spending less money because men are paying. I mean, Shiba, when we used to go out, they would pay for the whole
Oh, I'm going
tab.
off camera.
Look, I'm putting
Hold
you
on. Why
on
she put my
blast.
name in there, y'all?
I
Go
sure
ahead.
did. We used to go out back
Pretty
when I
privilege.
was in college. Pretty privileged. They would pay for the whole tab
Number
just for
2,
us. Just
a
number
job.
and job,
Just
and
a
then I
level
would
of
say
okay, number 2. Number
a
3.
level of I just opportunities, and just relationship opportunities. Because if you have pretty privilege, you have opportunities for the best bet of man. You know, so I think number 1 is corporate job opportunities. 2, you don't have to spend as much money. You have more access to resources. And then 3 would be uh, you have a better chance at getting the guy that you actually want.
Okay. Bernice only meets one of those requirements. So
What do
how
you mean?
much of a privilege is it? She doesn't have a corporate job. She doesn't have a guy. The only thing she gets is a good time.
She does have a man though, and he claims her. She's dating
That's
NFL
it.
players. She got
That's
a nice
it.
house. She got a house though. She got a
She not
house.
married.
She got job opportunities.
What
She's doing
job?
good.
Hold on. What job? Corporate. You said corporate. That's why I
Oh,
asked you. You said
okay,
corporate.
corporate. But when I would say corporate, I just mean like corporate or job opportunities. So she's getting sponsors. That's probably she's making way more money than a lot of people in corporate America just based off her look. She don't do nothing except go to club appearances and look pretty and dance.
But
Literally,
it,
women get
Mhm.
paid just to be pretty and stand there.
Is it long standing?
No, and I think Kim Kardashian. I think Kim Kardashian. Who else is suffering from aging? What Madonna? I think they're well. Kim ain't as bad as Madonna, but Madonna, we're seeing it full hand of a woman who's having a life crisis because her age is catching up to her. She literally looks like an alien now. No offense,
Right.
but
But why
yeah,
does she look like an alien?
because she getting all them fillers and stuff
Thank
and
you. To
stuff up
keep
in
up with
her
what?
face
To
to keep
keep
up with
up.
her
Mm-hmm.
her youth and
Former
beauty,
self. The
her
girl I
former
used to
self.
know. The girl I
Yeah.
used to know. The girl I
And
used
now
to
she
I just want to insert one thing.
Go ahead.
Confidence is king and queen. If you label yourself as pretty and beautiful and you disregard what society labels as pretty and beautiful, are you not able to get all of those advantages?
wait, if you don't label your wait, say that again. I'm
No,
sorry.
if you label yourself, because it's all about what you feel about yourself. If you say to yourself, I am not only pretty, I'm beautiful. I'm worthy. I am I deserve to be here. As a matter of fact, this table was meant for me. So if you adopt your mindset to say that I'm beautiful, I deserve to be here, I am all of that and then some and even more, and no one can hold a candle to me, does that benefit you in a way that pretty privilege
No.
could
No,
never?
I think that's called delusion because there's women that walk around and say, I'm a 10, I'm this, I'm that. You could feel that way and you could demand that respect. I will never tell a woman how she should. I don't think anybody should walk around and say, I'm a 5, because when you walk around with that mentality, you think that you're gonna allow men to treat you like trash because you're labeling yourself as less than valuable. I think that people should put value on themselves, but let's not be delusional. You could walk around and say, oh, I'm this and I'm that. But if the results are not resulting, then you may not be all of that. And that is honestly, a lot of
What
women
if
don't
the
like to
results
do
are
that.
actually resulting?
They don't know, Empress.
What
That's
if
the
they
point.
are actually
Empress, they don't
resulting?
know, and that's the point I'm trying to push.
Then
They
that mean
don't
that you're
know. They
actually
start
pretty
off
then.
with a blank canvas, and they say, and as they're painting, they're creating a masterpiece, and they're putting a big butt, a lighter color skin, a different texture of hair, and they're saying, this is the blueprint. And it
What if
failed.
you embrace yourself as you are and you're
They
not
don't
trying to
do
be
that.
someone else?
They're not
See,
do that's not what's happening.
but my statement is don't try to make yourself into something that you're not.
Listen,
Embrace who you are.
listen. That's a dinosaur message. I've been preaching it. Uppity, y'all need to come up here. Uppity, all of y'all. And PK Joe, we got a little echo.
Then
All
I'm
y'all
a,
in the chat that normally
it's
contribute to this
probably
conversation. Listen, that message that you're talking and I'm talking is out the window because
it's
these
also the blueprint though. Whether or not they're willing to receive the dinosaur message, the
it's
actual
the blueprint,
blueprint,
but not the
it's
contract.
the blueprint. But if they're not able to receive the blueprint and sign the contract for themselves, then they're stuck in the matrix. What the
It's
goal is to get them out of the matrix by embracing who they actually are.
It's the blueprint, but not the contract. Have you ever seen somebody lay something in front of you as a blueprint and you start to pick it apart, take this out, and then by the time you sign the contract, it wasn't what was included in the blueprint? So what they think is the it factor, is the blueprint. But by the time they get peeled apart, get slept with, get used and abused, that's not the contract.
The accountability is not to allow yourself to be slept with, to be used and abused, to uphold yourself as a queen that you are,
It's easier
and to
said than
maintain.
done in this
But
generation.
I've been doing it for what, over 51 years.
But you don't have 20 million dangling in front of you neither. Hold on. Somebody need to mute up because we have a echo. Everybody mute up. So let's talk. Let's talk. Listen, let me drop the link in the chat. Now we're going to talk about today's date of dating and women. Listen, that is not the world we live in today, where you and I have experienced dating. Listen, these little ugly men, these little rappers that weigh 98 pounds are coming in the door. No education, pants all the way down to their knees, worth 40 million. I ain't got to talk to your mama. I ain't got to do nothing. If I snap my finger and pull up in front of your house, you're going to come running out by the simple fact of what I got by way of financial. So let's start there. Marinate on that. All of that self-esteem talk. And this is what you should feel. That is not landing on the millennials and the Gen Zs.
Yeah, it's
Not
not.
because
working.
because
All
they're
right,
focusing on their value with monetary value. They're
sweetheart.
folk
Go ahead. Embrace.
When you focus on monetary value, it's easy to devalue yourself, right? Because you don't have the 40 million. So then you allow other people that's not qualified to even value you to devalue you simply because they have a bigger paycheck.
I just, I just have to. There's women that walk around and say, like I know a girl. She was before she's actually losing weight and doing better, but when she was at her overweight, like overweight and not taking care of herself, and but she felt like, oh, it doesn't matter. I believe that I'm gonna get this type of man. No, you're not. And we do have to be realistic about that. We can accept ourselves, but I think it's okay to be our best self. Like we can, I don't, yeah, I think we should put our best foot forward, as in, okay, I can walk outside with some sweatpants on and a tank top and be like, oh yeah, I'm confident. But it ain't nothing like walking out with some heels on and a sexy dress that fits my body, that look good. My hair is done. Everything is looking good, smelling good. That confidence level is out of there. And everybody's going to feel that. So it's just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I could be confident within, But it ain't nothing like when you really put effort and invest in yourself. You invest in yourself just like you invest in your business, invest in your home, invest in your job or your family, it's gonna grow. So your confidence is gonna grow, your beauty is gonna grow. And that's it. Like, that's all I'm just saying. It's like I don't think anybody should walk around with a defeated attitude like I'm ugly. I would never advocate for that. Like I don't think
Absolutely.
anybody should ever walk around with that because that's a low vibrational thinking and you're going to attract low vibrational things. But when you walk around in a high vibrational mindset, you're not going to be walking around with a high vibrational mindset and be 400 pounds. If you're starting to be high vibrational, you're going to want to start eating better. You're going to want to start drinking better. You want to start working out. You're going to really want to take care of yourself and really change your life around to be your best self. We got one life to live. We're given one body. This is our temple, and we're supposed to take care of our temple at the best way possible. That's all I'm saying.
Let me ask y'all a question. I want to take it back to colorism. Based on today's world that we live in, the opportunities that we have at our fingertips, Black women being the most educated group of demographic that there is above white men, white men, white women. People being able to quit their jobs and say, you know what, I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to start my own business. If I did it for you in corporate America for 15 years, I can do it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, on the panel, Lady D, I'm going to start with you, that colorism is a real barrier that impedes success for the African American community?
Yes. Yeah. It is because it's like, if you're in corporate world, which I am not, I know people who are in corporate world because I have a cousin who does corporate world, and she's probably experienced a whole lot of colorism. So, because she used to make cookies, and now she still makes them, but it's like on wholesale. So it's like she makes it big though. She got it going on. She's doing her thing. So I think it does. I think it really is a terrible thing that we have to deal with, unfortunately.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm looking at
Let
that
me say
comment.
this something. Somebody says y'all are having a panel on colorism without a dark skin. Listen, I am dark. Hold
I
on.
am
I'm dark
too.
Y'all,
skinned.
hold on. Let me say this. Stop acting like we don't live in a world of technology where I don't have ring lights all around me. Stop acting like we live in a cave, Clarissa. Let me turn off the light to show her.
Clarissa, pull
I get
up.
tired of people saying you're brown skin. No, I'm not. B. Taylor, am I not a dark woman? Am I not a cup of coffee with no cream?
I mean, you're not Clarissa's color.
But what color am I? Am I dark or am I paper bag? Am I darker than paper bag?
I think you're close to my color.
Girl, you need to stop.
I
But let
don't.
me turn off this light and see. Hold on. Joyce Miles said this is so sad. Hold on. I am darker skin. Am I being delusional? B. Taylor, check me. Keep me honest.
I think.
Wait a minute,
Okay.
Queen. Turn the light off, honey. Turn the
Okay, let
light
me
off
turn the
so they
light
can
off.
see.
Okay, let me chat. Y'all give me a 1 if you want me to turn the light off so y'all can really see what I look like. We need at least 3 votes. 1, turn the light off. 2, don't even worry about it.
Cause it's not sad.
Hold
It's
on.
something that needs to be
We
talked about.
need chat engagement. Why does it matter how dark you are? Because somebody said that we're not qualified to have this conversation. Another round, I feel you. But sometimes people, I get it. I get what she's saying. She's saying, we need more qualified darker people. How can you speak on the
I think
behalf?
it's a different. I think that. Okay, so I
Okay,
for
let
the
me turn the light
longest.
off. Hold on. Let me do it. Number. Somebody said, "Don't even worry about it." Oh, we hold on. Why y'all do me like that? We need one more. We need a deal breaker. Y'all are tied for tie. 1 and 2 deal breakers. We need one more. We need another number 1. 2. Okay, number 2 said, "Don't even worry about it. We don't care."
Okay, look,
All
because
right.
I for the longest looked at myself like I'm dark skinned. Like
You're not dark
but then
skin. Let
but
me show these people how black I am. Hold on.
oh my gosh, here she go. Why is she in the
Can
dark?
y'all see me?
Stop it. Stop it. You are in the dark. You are
Now
in the
what?
dark.
I really think it's sad that we
I'm
have
being funny,
reduced
but I'm
ourselves to talking about the different complexions that we are, because my father was 3 times darker than I ever could be, right? My mother was darker than me. So my sister is darker than me. Then I have a lighter sister. We have various tones, but we're all still black.
Tandra J.
Right.
y'all don't
She
have none
completely
of those
gets my
numbers.
sense of humor, y'all. I like to have a good time, y'all, in the palace.
But
Like we don't want to fight over trivial issues. Listen, hold
Queen,
on. Let me go
Queen,
back
they
to the
saying
girl.
something.
Hold on, y'all.
They say,
Hold on. Hold on.
okay.
Hold on. Where's she at? Clarissa, you want to come up? Clarissa said, y'all having a panel on colorism with our dark skinned woman. Come up, Clarissa. Talk to us. Tell us what you think. I want to hear.
Crazy.
But y'all go ahead. Clarissa, I dropped the link in the chat.
It's crazy because I think that there's different levels of dark skin, right? Like for me, I count myself as dark skin because it's like back in the day it was light skin, dark skin. So I knew I wasn't light skin. And so I'm like, well, okay, I'm dark skin. But then you got the dark skin girls who are of a deeper complexion that's like, no, you not, don't be trying to, because you're not the representation of us. Like, I don't want you being a representation of us because you don't represent me. You don't go through what I go through. So then they
Pause,
started
B.
making a
Taylor. Hold on,
section
B.
of,
Taylor.
oh, go ahead.
Clarissa, you're backstage. I just want it. Nobody can see you but me. Nobody. I took you. Let me see you're a real person. And then turn your. Okay, I see. All right, Queen. Clarissa, are you on the West Coast? Because it's daylight where you are. You must be on the West Coast or you're in a foreign country. All right, I see you. You're real. I'm going to bring Clarissa up. B. Taylor, hold your thought. Clarissa say we not represent. Clarissa, you're good. I'm
Okay.
going to bring you up. Mic check. Clarissa, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm just in a room that's really well lit, so sorry about that. I apologize. I jumped into the middle of y'all conversation and I realized that y'all were in a completely different place in y'all conversation than I was. And when I went live, I realized I was not in the same place and my comment was completely off context. So I completely apologize. I caught y'all in a completely different point. So my purpose of what I caught of the conversation, though, what I was trying to say was, part of what I see when we have the conversation is that some of the comments that, people were talking about, like, the different shades of color. I have a biracial daughter. She is mixed. She is light skinned, and as a dark skinned woman with a biracial daughter, I have learned that colorism isn't just about dark skinned women, light skinned women. I have found that, and she's turning 18 soon. But watching what she has experienced, I realized that, you
Well, it looks like her sound went out.
Clarissa, go back to where you were. Your sound was good. You just went out, Queen. Pause for a second. Go back to where you were. Do a mic check. You're muted. We can't hear you. Keep moving back to where you were when you started. You're muted. We're going to wait for you, Clarissa, because you were on a roll. We'll wait.
Yeah, I was very
Yeah,
interesting.
she was doing a great job.
Because I want to ask her, as a dark skinned woman who has a lighter skinned child, how did she was able to navigate her through that experience?
Can y'all hear me? Did I
Yeah,
Oh
freeze?
now
yeah,
we
we can hear
can.
you now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
Welcome
Mhm.
back.
man, I'm so
Welcome back.
sorry. My bad.
Mhm.
I don't know where I left off at or where y'all caught, but
You
I
was talking
made
about
You
your
were saying you had
daughter.
you
Yeah.
had a mixed child.
yes, and
Yeah.
one of my daughters, so my oldest daughter, and so my comment wasn't made in the complete context where I should have made it. And what I was trying to explain was that in raising this woman now, she's a woman now, I realized that the construct of me feeling like, oh my God, because I'm dark skinned, somebody's treating me differently or I'm feeling differently. I'm watching this. She believes and she carries herself as a Black woman, and she experiences what she believes is not even, a form of colorism. What she's told me is that she believes it's a form of racism that is just spewing out through, she gets it from white people, Black people. And so I realized that, you know, I just realized that my feelings of like what dark skin is or what color people are, it just changed my view. So when I was making my comment, I didn't finish and I was in the wrong place where y'all was at. So I apologize for getting everybody riled up. That was not my intention. I really
No,
apologize.
don't apologize because, there are necessary evils to promote and propel a conversation. So you were necessary in order for you to come on to kind of push the needle and nudge us along to get a little bit deeper. So I think it was great. Thank you. And then also you were like busy and you were like, you know what? Let me go over here and chime in. I'm kind of in an impromptu moment, but I can find a second to chime in. So I appreciate it.
No, and I have 7 kids, so I definitely just popped on because I like y'all deep conversations. But as I've learned more about colorism and what I believe that I experienced growing up, because how do I explain to my daughter that what I experienced was more from people that looked like me and was my complexion than it was from those other people? And so once you start to think of it in that way, how am I describing colorism based on our complexion when the people that I experienced it from actually look like me and they were actually my complexion? So when we start talking about it, it's deeper than just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, but like
It does.
I had a foster mother that she was the mother of Precious without the extra stuff, without that essay stuff. That was my foster mother, and she was one of the meanest people I knew. She was big, she was Black, but she was just so mean to me. And when I got older and I got out of foster care and I got better and I was an adult, she ran into me and she saw me and I was on city council. I did all these things. And the only thing she said to me was, "Oh, ain't that a pretty light baby?" And she walked
Oh,
off.
wow.
And I realized that like to her, I was ugly because she saw something in me that was her. And it took forever for me to get over that. But understanding that that was a her problem, not a me problem. But when you experience it from people that look like you, it's really confusing as a child. It really is.
Can I ask real quick, Clarissa? Hold on. Clarissa, where are you from? Don't peg it right because they're pretty savvy viewers.
Central Illinois.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you, Queen. Look, I appreciate you dropping in.
Wait,
That
I
was a
want to ask
beautiful
her a
testament.
question. Is
Okay,
that okay?
okay.
I just want to know how you navigated your daughter in finding her confidence, because I feel like a lot of light-skinned girls who are raised by darker-skinned mothers instill in their daughters that if a darker-skinned girl doesn't like you, it's automatically because you're light-skinned and she's a hater. What did you teach her in those moments? Because I know you said that it was hard for you to kind of explain that because your experience is different from hers. Like, how did you teach her about that?
I really focused on the fact that like I wanted her to be strong in who she was, and I wanted her to feel good about who she was. And I, spent so much time. I didn't know that I was a beautiful person. Like I'm very dark skinned, but girl, when I tell y'all, when people used to stare at me when I was a kid, I used to feel so self conscious. And when I got older, I realized they were staring at me because my skin is so beautiful. And
Yeah.
so my daughter started to see that, right? And so we'd be at the store, and so one day she said to me, she said, "Mommy, they staring at you because you're beautiful." And I said, "What?" And I'm looking at her like, and so then I realized like it's important to me that if she sees me and she sees how I'm being treated and how I feel about myself, that she will carry herself that way. And so I'll tell you, one of the proudest things I'm proud of is that when I go to her school, they don't expect her to have a Black mother. They never expect that because she carries herself in a way that is confident about her feeling that about her feeling like she's a Black woman. Like, and it's not because they just assume she has a Black father. Like they just assume because, you know what I mean? Like I know that sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but I have a mixed son as well, and they just assume that they, And I really spent a lot of time just making sure that she understood that, like, you know, what I went through growing up had nothing to do with light-skinned people. And so if something happened or something was going on, I encouraged her to, you know, get to know those people. You know, don't, you know, just there's a different way for her to go about interacting with other people, right? And so
Yeah.
don't automatically. So one of the things that I, you know, learned, right, is like, if somebody's staring at me, I have to stop assuming it's negative, right? I really
Yeah.
have to stop being negative. And so instead of her thinking somebody, you know, the girls, the you know, if it was a dark skin girl or a white girl, whoever, if the person was treating her badly, I raised her not to think, well, I got this pretty hair and I got this light skin and my hair going like that,
Yeah.
mad
Okay.
at me. I didn't raise her to think like that. I raised her to think, ain't my mother, who was a dark skinned woman as well, she told me, the one thing she told me, I swear to God, is the best advice I've ever had. As much as you think people are worried about you, ain't nobody worried about you. And so I
I
taught
like
her to
that.
really just not worry about that. And so as she did that, I mean, she is just such a well-rounded young woman, and so she does such a good job of holding her own and holding in conversations. And I believe that is because she understands that sometimes it really has nothing to do with her. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes any sense to y'all, if I'm explaining it right, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so she really, you know, so when they have conversations in her school about stuff like this, her teachers and stuff are always like, "Oh my God, why?" I really do want them to grow up in a world where they feel comfortable and they don't have to choose who they are. They just walk in a room and they are that person. And that's difficult I didn't know until being a mother, but it is very difficult for biracial people, especially if they try to, you know, hone in on their, you know,
I can
on
see that.
who they
I
are.
think
So
that's a very relevant point. One that I would never consider as being fully black, or you, like even as a mother, having a discovery phase and a discovery period. Both you and B. Taylor, right? Like, oh, hold on,
Yeah.
wait a minute. My children are different. And
Yeah.
although they are my children, they are different to the world, their hair texture, the color of their
Yeah.
skin. And to me, I see no difference in this family because you're going to clean that room, you're going to do this, you're going to do all that. And we don't see that, but the world
Yeah.
sees that.
oh
And let
no,
So
me
they
just,
do.
yeah.
I had
And
a woman,
I,
I had a
I just
woman
want to
ask
say
me
to
about
Clarissa,
man.
because I get it, because I have a son that I'm raising, and although he's not his dad is biracial, so he's I guess what is that, 3/4 or something, like, I don't know, quarter white, and but his genes are very strong. Like Shiba knows how my son looks. He looks
mhm.
nothing like me. He's very, very light complected, light hair, light eyes, like just looks really, really mixed. So to right now, I'm teaching him about the colors of everyone in the family, because his grandfather is white. But I focus in on the beauty of black, because that's what I can teach him, is how beautiful black people come in different shades. So he's like, oh, wow, like mommy's this color, so and so's this color, I'm this color. Like he's so proud to be like black. Like he's like, yeah, like I'm black. Like, and I really want to instill that in him. And I know it's different with girls, because it's different raising a woman dealing with colorism than a boy. So I know my family members, they like, when he was younger, they would tell me, "Oh, don't spank him," and I'm like, they're like, "Oh, spank him on the feet." I'm
Hold
like,
on, hold
"Yo,
on, hold on, hold on. Do you feel like they were giving you that advice because of the color of his skin, and they felt like he
yes,
was privileged because of his skin tone? You
yes."
don't beat him like you would beat a darker skinned little boy. Is
But
that
that's
what
what I
we're
was about to
getting
say.
at?
The same people that was telling me that is the same people that used to beat my ass. I was like, spanking feet. You used
So
to
we
beat my
preserve
ass.
him because of the color of
Yeah,
his skin.
because
Okay.
the color of his skin, we preserve
Okay.
him because we
Well,
don't want to bruise up his
and
skin.
and I have a weird situation, whereas I said I have 7 kids. My story is really interesting. Don't want to
Real
get into
quick.
it,
Hold on.
but
Hold on. Hold on. Oh, we got somebody else. Hold on. Empress. Is that Empress?
Yes.
You're up next. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Clarissa.
my oldest son, who I had in high school, he's 21. He's dark skinned. He looks just like me. And then I have these, you know, biracial kids. I also have a biracial son. So he's 16. And so raising him, to answer your question, he has a white father, right? And so he's at school and he's arguing with people. He's calling people colonizers. You can't call people colonizers. Your daddy's white, right? So it's like
Yeah.
that's the kind of, and so they're very they when they believe in who they are and they believe in what their stance is. The fact that his father happens to be white does not come into the conversation, or his father happens to be a different, so if you raise him in the, what I'm saying, to appreciate that, I think it'll be well. But something I learned that I'll throw into the conversation, I used to always wonder, my kids, how did they come out this color? Well, I'm actually 16% white, so you would never know that, but just to drop a bomb, so their genes also come for me. You see what I'm saying? So you learn so much about genetics, and we have the Eve gene, so so we
Yeah,
got
that's true.
over here.
All right. So Empress, you're up next, and then we're gonna go to Jay.
Yes, I have a 26-year-old son and I have a 20-year-old son.
Okay.
One is darker complexion and one is what they would consider brown skin. I didn't raise either one of them differently than the other. Because in my mind, we're all black. So, I raised them to honor themselves and to honor the women in their lives, not because of the complexion of their skin or the color of their skin or the tone of their skin, but simply because of the individual that they are. So I'm just coming from a different philosophy where I'm not really focused on the tone of your skin, right? Because their father is literally he's a dark skinned man. But I did not raise them to see and acknowledge whether someone's dark skin, light skin, So when I hear the battle of colorism, I know that is a real thing, but I also understand that it's an individual thing that we have to acknowledge within ourselves, and we have to decide whether or not we want to continue to promote it, or we want to continue to accept ourselves as individuals, regardless of what our complexions are, or if we're light skin or dark skin. We're still black, we're still African, and
The
all
world
life.
still makes you choose, though. It's the world that makes us choose. It's not us. You know what I'm saying?
I know what the world does because the world is wrong, right? So the majority of the world is wrong. The wide is the path and narrow is the way. So we still have to make a choice within ourselves outside of the world and say, I'm not going to follow what they're doing, because what they're doing is foolishness. What they're doing is leading to destruction. What they're doing is leading to self-hatred. So I'm not going to align myself with the world. So that's why I'm actually on the different side of the topic, because every single member of my family, we have various skin tones, various complexions, with a rainbow, literally.
Can
But
I
we're
ask
all
you
black.
something? Can I,
Yes,
Empress?
yes.
Pardon me if my mic is loud. Have you witnessed or experienced any form of colorism from your family?
I have. I have. I have darker skinned members of my family that experience colorism in the world. And I had to come to understand that their experiences were different than mine. So what I had to do was empathize what they were going through. But then I empathized what they were going through enough so I can say to them, forget what they say. You're a Carter. You're a Newell. You're family. I don't care what they say. So, to answer the question, yes, I've experienced it only through my other family members that experienced it through the world. And also, in my earlier years, had biases because I wanted a darker skin tone, because I actually associate darker skin tone with beauty. That's because I honor Africa. I was raised to honor Africa. I'm not saying that all Jamaicans are raised that way, but that's specifically the way that I was raised. I was raised to honor my African roots. So I literally look at Africa as the epitome of life and beauty. So that's why I say I'm on the opposite end of this. And I'm almost trying to get people to realize, my God, do you realize how beautiful you are because you are brown, because you are black, because you are African, you are beautiful. You are the epitome of life. Anything that strays from you actually is a delusion of your Africanness,
And
but it all comes from you.
I think that's a great note. I think you brought so much positivity into the colorism segment conversation. I know we're right at 3 hours. I see the numbers dwindling down. Ladies, in 15 seconds or less, if you could leave the audience with a token and or a nugget of wisdom related to their skin tone and or colorism, what would you say? 15 seconds or less, what would you say? Let's start with B. Taylor.
Okay. I sorry. Ooh, I feel like as soon as you said 15 seconds, my brain was like, "You don't got no time." Okay, sorry.
15 seconds, because we gotta
Okay, look.
let people go to
Okay.
bed.
Okay, yes. Okay, my nugget would be because I struggle with my color as well. Is that you chose to be here? You chose this skin color for a reason. You don't know why you chose to, but God knew why He sent you here and the skin color that it is. And if you are a skin color where it's highly discriminated, that's how strong you are. Go where you are loved. Love yourself because if you don't love your color, ain't nobody else gonna see beauty in it either. So embrace it because you can't do nothing about it. You cannot change your skin color. It is who you are. And if you don't love it, ain't nobody else gonna love it. So appreciate what you got. Understand that you are destined to be here. Your journey is different than others, but your skin color is meant to be on you and you chose it. You chose it when you was an angel in heaven. I wholeheartedly believe that. We chose our struggles to come down here and make a difference for a reason. So why don't you make a difference with your color and show the other little girls that's coming up behind you how beautiful your skin is. That's it.
I listen, the chat agrees with
Mm,
you. They said that is beautiful. I
Thank
love it.
you.
Lady
Thank
D,
you.
15 seconds or less. We got to go to bed.
She just
We got to go.
she just took she just took my
Well, wrap it up for
she
us.
just
Come
took
on
what I
now.
was gonna say. Okay. Yes, love yourself. Whether you're dark, light, brown, dark skin, whatever you are, love yourself. Treat yourself right, and everybody else will.
I love it. Clarissa, you're up next.
My token would be no matter what room you walk in, instead of worrying about whether or not the people in the room like you need to worry about whether or not you like them.
Oh,
That's
can
a
we
good one.
meditate on that? Just let them use you. All right. Thank you, Clarissa. Jay, you're up next.
First of all, sorry I joined late. Thank you all for having this conversation. It's really needed and appreciated. I would always say you're not able to choose what skin you're born in. You're not able to choose what color you're born in, but you are able to choose to love yourself fully. And if you love yourself fully, you don't have time to hate on the next.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Amen.
And Clarissa, you came up. I kind of aching you to like the fourth leg on the relay team. We're gonna say the best for last, like at the US Olympics. Like you finna bring up the rear. You came in at the last part, but guess what? You gained some ground in this conversation. You laid it all out there. It's aching to like the 4x1 relay. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. And I carried that baton for you. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate you handing it to me. And I'm sorry I threw a monkey wrench in our conversation. I really just,
No, honey, you did what
sometimes
you
when you
needed
have a
to do. You
conversation,
understood the assignment, and I appreciate that in
thank
the
you.
palace. And you showed up and you showed out and you gave real examples. It was no hose bar. And you said, here's what it is as a dark skinned woman. Here's my reality. Here are my children. Here's what I've experienced. Challenge me on that because I understand colorism. So thank you. All right. Empress, what you got to leave us with, honey? Last but not least.
I'm just going to say this. We're all black. We're all African. all life came from us. We are the all that it is. Like, there's nothing to feel dishonorable about. And all we have to do is embrace who we are and who God created us to be in this world, and shine the light that we are meant to shine in this world, to show people who they are and where they came from. And we can't show people who they are and where they came from if we're busy fighting amongst each other, trying to determine who's blacker than the next. That's all I have.
And that's good enough. And that's enough to wrap up on. Listen, let me tell you something. All of you. You ladies have been phenomenal. When we think of panel dynamics, most YouTube bloggers, most content creators want another content creator to sit next to them. We defied the odds tonight. We took ordinary people with a huge topic, and you showed up and you showed out and you tackled the issue personally, communal, based on a community level, professionally, and personally. I applaud all of you, and I want to thank all of you for showing up in a panel and the palace and the way in which you did. All of you are phenomenal, ladies. Listen, I want to invite each and every one of you back. So when we host another conversation, I need each and every one of you to reach out to me via email so that you can be resident panelists to spearhead the conversations. All of you, right? Even if we have to drop you from the chat, as we begin to warm up the audience. You all did a phenomenal job. Don't second guess anything you said. It's YouTube. I've been there. I've done that. And I'm going to tell you, you all showed up and you showed out. To the audience, thank you. To my moderators, thank you. To the palace members, those of you that have dedicated your resources financially to join my channel, thank you. God bless you all, and good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Thank you, Queen
Good
Shiba.
night.